as personal privilege. We are so proud to have members of Delta Sigma Theta in our midst today. We ask now that the resolution honoring them on Delta Day at the Capitol be read.
Ms. Clerk, let's read the resolution, please.
Whereas Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated was founded on January 13th, 1913 in Washington, D.C. by 22 collegiate women, with its first official act being participation in the Women's Suffrage March. And whereas Delta Sigma Theta currently has over 1,000 collegiate and alumni chapters located in the United States, Canada, Japan, Germany, the Virgin Islands, the United Arab Emirates, and the Republic of Korea. And whereas there are 41 collegiate and alumni chapters in the state of Alabama with over 3,500 members. And whereas the members of the Alabama chapters recognize their continued duty and responsibility to public service, which includes not only taking an active interest in and participating in educating the masses regarding issues, but also advocating for policies and policy changes that impact our communities. And whereas each year the members of the Alabama chapters convene at the Alabama State Capitol to educate, advocate, and ensure that their collective voices are heard. And whereas this year's Alabama Delta Days at the State Capitol will take place on April 2nd, 2026, under the theme, Solid in Our Sisterhood, Secure in Our Fight. Now therefore, be it resolved by the House Representatives of the Legislature of Alabama that Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated is hereby celebrated and congratulated on its longevity and community service. And we take great pride in recognizing the members' contributions on Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Day on April 2nd, 2026.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, body.
The chair thanks the lady. Chair recognizes Representative Rigsby for special recognition.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to suspend the rules to allow floor privileges for Miss Debbie McCutcheon.
All those in favor say aye. Permission is granted.
While they make their way into the chamber, I'd like to invite the local delegation of Madison Limestone to come down and stand with me. Mr. Speaker, members of the House, today I rise with both gratitude and humility to present this resolution honoring a man who has not only served this body with distinction, but who has also personally shaped my own journey, former Speaker Mac McCutcheon. It is a unique honor to stand in this chamber representing the very seat that he once held. And I can tell you his legacy is not just written in the record books, it is felt in the culture, the tone, and the integrity of this House even today. As this resolution rightly states, Speaker McCutcheon's life has been marked by service. Service to his country, service in law enforcement, service in this legislature, and service in Madison County. But more than the titles, more than the accomplishments, what stands out is how he served. He led with steadiness in uncertain times. He led with fairness when it mattered most. And he led with a quiet strength that reminded all of us that leadership is not about being the loudest voice in the room, but it's about being the most faithful servant. Members, we often talk about public service as a calling. And in the life of Speaker McCutcheon, we see what it truly looks like to serve well over an entire lifetime. But today we also recognize that no one serves alone. We want to honor his wonderful wife, Miss Debbie, the one he affectionately calls the true Speaker of the House. And for 55 years, she has been his partner, his encourager, and his foundation. We also offer thanks to his children and grandchildren, because behind every public servant is a family who sacrifices time, shares burdens, and gives support that often goes unseen. Your service has been made possible because of our families. Through decades of service, through challenges and victories, and through seasons of leadership and transition, Speaker McCutcheon has remained faithful to doing good. And today, we are all reaping the benefits of that faithfulness. His work helped build stronger infrastructure in our state, better schools, a more stable government, and perhaps even more and importantly than that, he helped model what honorable leadership looks like. And that is a legacy that will far outlast any policy or position. So today, on behalf of this body, on behalf of District 25, and on behalf of a grateful state, we say thank you. Thank you for your service, thank you for your leadership, and thank you for showing us how to serve well. Mr. Speaker, at this time, I ask that the resolution be read.
Clerk, read the resolution.
Whereas, it is fitting to recognize public servants whose lives exemplify integrity, humility, and an unwavering commitment to serving others. And whereas the Honorable Mac McCutcheon will retire on March 1st, 2026, concluding a lifetime of devoted service to the people of Alabama as a United States Army veteran, law enforcement officer, Alabama State Representative, Speaker of the Alabama House of Representatives, and Chair of the Madison County Commission, while also faithfully serving his community as a farmer and associate pastor. And whereas, born Chester Clarence McCutcheon on July 15, 1952, in Madison County, Alabama, he was reared in the farming community of Tony, where he developed a deep appreciation for hard work, strong values, and a lasting love for the people and the natural beauty of northern Alabama. And whereas he earned an Associate of Science degree in Criminal Justice from Calhoun Community College and a Bachelor of Science degree in Criminal Justice Administration from Trinity University, he is also a graduate of the 2023 Army War College. And whereas prior to seeking election to public office, Mac McCutcheon dedicated 25 years to the Huntsville Police Department, serving with distinction in roles ranging from hostage negotiation to probation officer. He remains a member of the American Legion, the Fraternal Order of Police, the Alabama Peace Officers Association, the North Alabama Emmaus Community, and the Huntsville Rotary Club. And whereas first elected to the Alabama House of Representatives in 2006, he served House District 25, encompassing Madison City, Huntsville, Capshaw, Monrovia, and East Limestone for 16 years. He quickly emerged as a trusted leader and earned the respect of his colleagues. And in 2012, his influence expanded when he became chair of the prominent House Rules Committee. And whereas in 2016, he was elected by his colleagues as Speaker of the Alabama House, he was re-elected in 2019 and concluded his legislative service in 2022, leaving a lasting mark on the institution and the state he served. And whereas during his tenure as Speaker of the House, Speaker McCutcheon was known as a steady hand of leadership during an otherwise tumultuous political landscape in Alabama politics. Known for his commitment to fairness and his respect for the legislative process, he worked to ensure that every member had a voice. And whereas he was instrumental in advancing major economic development and infrastructure initiatives, most notably the Rebuild Alabama Act of 2019, landmark legislation that provided long-term funding for the repair and improvement of Alabama's roads and bridges. He also served as chair of the Joint Transportation Committee and on the board of the Alabama Transportation Rehabilitation and Improvement Program, overseeing critical state highway projects. And whereas, under his leadership as Speaker, Alabama enacted the largest education budget in state history, which included teacher pay raises and increased funding for school resources. And he helped secure support for school construction in 2020, representing the largest capital improvement investment for Alabama schools in more than a decade. And whereas, as a legislator, he received multiple Legislative Champion Awards for advancing bills that expanded healthcare coverage and support for children with autism. He also established an ongoing budget reform task force to promote more sustainable and predictable state financial planning. And whereas, following his retirement from the House of Representatives, Speaker McCutcheon was appointed Madison County Commission Chair by Governor Kay Ivey on January 31st, 2023, and was subsequently elected to his first full term on November 5th, 2024. And whereas, as chair of the Madison County Commission, Speaker McCutcheon has been widely commended for his leadership in managing rapid population growth, prioritizing critical road and water infrastructure projects, and initiating plans for a new county criminal justice center. His tenure has emphasized proactive servant leadership, bringing stability and experience to local government. And whereas throughout his life, Speaker McCutcheon has remained deeply committed to civic, professional, and faith-based service, generously giving of his time and leadership experience to strengthen his community. And whereas Mac McCutcheon steadily acknowledges that none of these accomplishments would have been possible without the love, support, and constant encouragement of his beloved wife of 55 years, the true speaker of the McCutcheon household, Debbie, whom he married following their high school graduation in 1970. Together, they are the parents of 2 children and proud grandparents of 4 grandchildren. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the legislature of Alabama, both houses thereof concurring, that the chair of the Madison County Commission and former Speaker of the House of Representatives, Mac McCutcheon, is hereby commended for a lifetime of distinguished and exemplary service to the state of Alabama and its people. Be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution be delivered to the Honorable Mac McCutcheon. Gratitude. Environment.
Mr. Speaker, I move adoption.
All in favor say aye. And opposed, it is adopted.
Mr. Speaker, if you would allow Speaker McCutcheon a few words.
I'll give him 3 minutes. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, body. Since we started on time, I'll take that time. He's doing much better than I did. I know that for sure. I really don't know what to say. I didn't come prepared to say anything other than the fact that I am touched. My wife and I are very, very grateful. And she is the Speaker of the Speaker's house, for sure. I have just a flood of memories running through me. I look back at some messages that I had spoke at the beginning of sessions over the years to new members coming in and everything. And, you know, one of the things that I always said in every speech, it just resonated in every speech that I pulled up, is that don't forget where you come from. I've always said that. Do not forget where you come from, because you represent a group of people here in Alabama and you are their voice. And I always respected that through all of the process and all of the ins and outs that we would have to struggle through, but we would always respect that. The other thing I just wanted to say to you today, when the business was over and the lights were turned out, I would go around to every seat in this chamber, get on my knees and lay my hands in the chair, and I would pray for each member individually. It's not something that I ever talked about, but now that I'm out and moved on, I could say this, because here's the purpose. I wanted, as a leader in this body, to understand you. I wanted to pray for your families. I wanted to know how your kids are doing. I wanted to know what's going on in your district. And through that time of meditation, it was amazing how my spirit was able to connect with each of you and understand you better, so that we might function as a body together and get things done for the people of Alabama. I just want to close by saying, Representative Rigsby, thank you so much for this. You're doing a great job in District 25. Thank you for your service, and you're my representative. I'm so thankful for each of you because I keep up with you. And Mr. Speaker, as I've told you before, now I say a little prayer for everybody now in the hallway of the barn. And I sit there and I'll make a little toast and pray for each one of you in a special way, that you do the business of the people. I love you. This is a part of my life that will always be in my heart. It will go to my grave, not because of the prestige of the office itself, but because of the great memories that I had with great people that serve the state. God bless you. God bless everyone.
Mr. Speaker, if you see fit, since Mac Daddy is a praying man and he's had some health issues, if you would allow me to say a prayer over him.
Absolutely.
Let's unite our hearts. Heavenly Father, we come before you today with grateful hearts, lifting up your servants, Brother Mac and Sister Debbie. Lord, we thank you for Mac, for a lifetime poured out in service, for steady leadership, for integrity, and for the quiet faithfulness that has blessed so many. What a gift he has been to this community, this state, and to all who've had the privilege to know him. We give you the praise for the work that you've done through his life. Father, we ask you now that your hand of healing and strength rest upon him. Sustain his body, renew his energy, and grant him days filled with peace, health, and joy. Be near to him in every season, reminding him that his labor in you has never been in vain. And Lord, we lift up Miss Debbie. We praise you for her journey, for the healing that you've brought to her, the strength that you've had her and given her to sustain, and the grace that you've poured out over her life. Thank you for her faithful service, her perseverance, and her steadfast love for Mac. Continue to restore her, encourage her, and surround her with your presence. Father, in the moments of weakness and suffering, teach us that what you have always shown us. First, our trials are never wasted. They draw us nearer to you. They remind us of our need for our Savior. And as we reflect on this Easter season, we remember the suffering of our Savior, Jesus Christ. The cross where Jesus bore our sin, our pain, and our brokenness. We do not have a Savior who does not know what suffering is. So through the resurrection, we declare victory. Through the empty tomb, you've given us life. And through Christ, we know that suffering leads not to defeat, but to glory. So, Lord, anchor our hearts in this hope. In every trial, make us more dependent on you. In every hardship, draw us closer to Christ. And now, Lord, as we declare, now to him who is able to do far more abundantly than all that we ask or think, according to the power of work within us, to him be glory in the church and in Jesus Christ through all generations, forever and ever, and all God's people said, Amen. Thank you for the recognition, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Let me say before Mac and Miss Deb leave, certainly it's one of those things that we've enjoyed serving with him, and as a majority leader working closely with him for 6 years, Mac McCutcheon is one of the best men I've ever known. And I certainly think God puts people in life for you for that. So, Mac, we love you and Deb, and you know we're always here. While we're taking pictures, as the Madison County delegation would just stay put down front, I would appreciate it. I know. Let me recognize some guests in the gallery. The Chilton Christian Academy. They are the guests of Representative Smith and Bedso. Let's give them a big hand. Thank you for being with us today. If I could, I'd like for the Madison County delegation to come back down to the front, and we will what I want to do today, Speaker McCutcheon is making us late again for history's sake. Mac, y'all just stay there. Y'all can stay there. So what I want to do, I think we take for granted sometimes the role that Alabama has played in space. And with Artemis being launched this week and what's going on, I think we fail to recognize that a lot of that work that was done, well, most all of the work that was done to put man back to the moon happens right here in Alabama. And we should never take that for granted. And I think it's something that we can be proud of, we can hang our hat on, and as Alabamians, we can brag about. And so with that being said, I've asked the entire Madison County delegation, because they support the Space and Rocket Center immensely with a lot of different ways and gratitude and with funding and with everything they do, they're always there for them. Chairman Lovern sits on the Space and Rocket Center board. So with that, I have asked him if he would to read something that we've written or my staff has written that I think is appropriate for today. So Chairman Lovern.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and you're absolutely right. At the U.S. Space and Rocket Center, we're certainly stewards of the storied past, the exciting present, and the bright future we have as Alabama's impact in when it looks at our stars and our journeys going upward to the state. And I've asked Chairman Garrett to come down here as well, because he certainly helps through him, and Chairman Reynolds supports through funds to help continue that mission of preserving our past and investing in our future through the Space and Rocket Center. Everyone in this chamber, your district plays a part, because all of Alabama contributes when it comes to our journey to space. Today, we take a minute to celebrate America's return to the moon by displaying the Space Launch System that is carrying the crew of Artemis II and the fabled Saturn V that took the country to the moon more than 50 years ago. Huntsville's Marshall Space Flight Center is responsible for designing, building, testing key components of the Space Launch System and providing real-time flight engineering support during the mission. Marshall was responsible for the primary development of the Saturn V and test firing of its massive engines that literally caused the earth to shake under their power. Alabama has and continues to play a major role in this country's manned exploration of space, and we salute the brave men and women, past and present, and thousands of supporting team members that make these missions possible.
Certainly like to recognize as well Clay Ryan. Clay, our clerk, works with us on a regular basis, does a great job. As Chief says, Clay is the ultimate space nerd. So we have stole all the props from his office, and certainly appreciate your write-up, Clay. Thank you. Chair recognizes the lady from Madison, Representative Lands.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We have some very special guests in the gallery today. We have members of Sigma Gamma Rho up there in the blue and gold. This is their first advocacy day here, and very glad to have them with us. And we have a resolution honoring their work.
Clerk, see the resolution.
Whereas Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated was founded on November 12, 1922, on the campus of Butler University in Indianapolis, Indiana, by 7 visionary educators who sought to establish an organization rooted in scholarship, sisterhood, and service. And whereas Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated has grown into an international public service organization with chapters across the United States, the Caribbean, Europe, and beyond, impacting countless communities through structured service initiatives and advocacy. And whereas the sorority's guiding principles of scholarship, service, sisterhood, and womanhood have shaped generations of women leaders who have excelled in education, public service, business, healthcare, the arts, government, and civic engagement. And whereas Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated has consistently addressed critical social issues through signature programs including, but not limited to, youth development, education advocacy, health equity, economic empowerment, voter engagement, and social justice initiatives. And whereas chapters within Alabama have demonstrated exceptional commitment to the residents of this state through mentoring programs, scholarships, community service projects, partnerships with local organizations, and initiatives that promote equity, wellness, and civic responsibility. And whereas the enduring legacy of Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated reflects a steadfast dedication to greater service, greater progress, uplifting communities and advancing opportunities for individuals and families across this state and the nation. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the legislature of Alabama, both houses thereof concurring, that on April 2nd, 2026, we hereby celebrate Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Day at the Capitol. We express sincere appreciation for its outstanding contributions, historic legacy, and commitment to the residents of this state through mentoring programs, scholarships, community service projects, partnerships with local organizations, and initiatives that promote equity, wellness, and civic responsibility.
All in favor of the resolution, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, resolution has been adopted. Thank you. Chair recognizes the gentleman from Madison, Representative Wharton.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to ask suspend the rules where the Madison County delegates can meet in room 418.
So the Rex Reynolds get you to do that so he wouldn't have to today? Is that what it is?
I don't know anything about that.
So what is right now? You want to meet right now, Richie?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? It's granted. You recognize the gentleman from Clark, Representative Jackson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thanks for the recognition. I want to commend the ladies in the blue and gold, being sisters of the Kappa Alpha Psi fraternity, being a member. We salute you. But I really came down, Mr. Speaker. There's an incident that happened in my district on Monday, Monroeville, Alabama, and I just pulled it up on social media, where a young man lost his life there, and he died in the custody of the police department. And he was dragged by 2 officers when they should have carried him. He was tased, from what I was, and he lost consciousness, unresponsive. And instead of carrying him, they drug him and took him to the detention center, where he later lost his life. So at this time, the Thompson family there in Monroeville, Alabama, I'm just crying out to that family and to the officers that was in this tragedy, when I guess honor was not being served at that particular time. And I'm asking for an investigation. from Attorney General's office to look into this matter, because we got too many of these things happening in our neighborhood where people of color are being abused by law enforcement. And it's time to correct that issue right now and to do it today. And I'm just saddened to know that this young man, 35 years of age, a father, lost his life, and his daughter will have to live without their dad the rest of their life. So it's a tragedy, and we just ask for a moment of privilege of silence that we can just try to, the prayer that was prayed earlier, that's what we need in the nation. We've lost our way. We've lost the map, which is the Bible, and we just want to do it our way. But God is the supreme being, and as we honor him in his life, death, and resurrection for all of us, it's a blessing that we are here, and let us honor that family for a moment of silence. And we ask God's continued blessings upon this nation, upon this state, and upon the family members and the officers that perpetrated this indecent act. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Clark. Chair recognizes the gentleman from Lee, Chairman Lovern.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I request leave of absence be granted for absent members.
Any objections? Hearing no objection, absent members are excused. Chair further recognize Chairman Lovern.
Mr. Speaker, I have a report.
House Representatives, your Standing Committee on Rules begs leave to report that it has carefully examined the Journal of the House for the 26th legislative day and finds the same to be correct. Signed, Representative Joe Lovern, Chairman.
Mr. Speaker, I move that the reading of the journal at length for the 26th legislative day be dispensed with.
Any objections? Hearing no objections, the reading of the journal is dispensed with. The chair recognizes the gentleman from Mobile, Speaker Pro Tem Pringle, for the purpose of making announcements.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to remind you that next week is Suits for Sessions on Tuesday. If you have any spare blazers, blouses, dresses, pants, shoes, belts, ties, or handbags, please bring them to the Alabama State House, room 200.
Mr. Pro Tem, you're further recognized.
Yeah. Mr. Speaker, I move that when we adjourn today, we leave the journal open for the clerk to complete his paperwork and reconvene on Tuesday, April the 7th at 1 p.m. next Tuesday.
All those in favor say aye. Any opposed, ayes have it. The motion prevails. Clerk now receives reports from standing committees and receive those reports throughout the day. The House is now in position to introduce bills and resolutions.
House Joint Resolution number 314 by Representative Daniels, commending Brittany Rabins on being named the 2026 Armed Forces Insurance Maxwell Air Force Base Military Spouse of the Year. House Joint Resolution number 315 by Representative Daniels, expressing gratitude to the Alabama Congressional Delegation. Senate Joint Resolution number 105 by Senator Gudger, commending Lieutenant Governor Will Ainsworth for his service to the state of Alabama.
Move adoption.
All those in favor say aye. Any opposed, it is adopted.
House Resolution number 313 by Representative Marcus, commending Senators Katie Britt and Tommy Tuberville for their support of and urging the United States Army Corps of Engineering to facilitate transporting goods via the Chattahoochee River.
Move adoption.
All in favor say aye. Any opposed, it is adopted.
House Resolution number 316 by Representative Robbins, encouraging the governor to promote the textile recycling industry in Alabama.
I move adoption.
All in favor say aye. Any opposed, it is adopted.
On page 84 of the calendar, House Bill number 646 by Representative Jones relating to Mobile County.
Question for the body is the adoption of the BIR. Clerk will unlock the machine and the members will vote. Clerk will lock the machine, record the vote. 63 ayes, 0 nays. The BR has been adopted. Question now is final passage of HB 646. Clerk will unlock the machines and the members will vote. Clerk will lock the machines, record the vote. 26 ayes, 0 nays. HB 646 has passed. Chair recognizes the gentleman from Lee, Chairman Lovern.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I have a resolution.
Clerk, see the resolution.
House Resolution number 325 from the House Rules Committee, the Special Order Calendar.
Great job.
Move adoption.
All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? It is adopted.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members.
Clerk, call the first bill on special order calendar.
On page 62 of the calendar, House Bill number 604, with substitute by Representative Collins, relating to public education.
Thank you for the recognition and for allowing 604 to be on the calendar today. Many of you may have heard about my goal to kind of improve and strengthen our letter grade, and that's not what this bill does. It actually creates an accountability council that will look at the data to make sure that the indicators we're using are truly preparing our students for college or for career, and then they'll make recommendations. And so I'd ask for the BIR.
The chair recognizes the lady from Jefferson, Representative Gavan.
Representative Collins, tell me about this bill. I was trying to find my copy of it actually, but it wasn't in order. But then I had a question regarding rules, but I think somebody must have put that bill on my station, but it had Matt Simpson name on it, but I couldn't, because for whatever reason, we couldn't speak on the calendar. But anyway, tell me about your bill.
It sets up an accountability council that'll look at the data to make sure that the indicators we're using, like on our A through F grading, are actually preparing
I
our
thought we
students
already had that.
for. No.
So how have we been captured?
We have an A through F report card.
Okay.
I was wanting to strengthen it, but it really doesn't need to be specifically strengthened within legislation because it may need the flexibility of movement. And so this sets up an accountability council that works with workforce and works with higher education to make sure that we're preparing our students.
So will this be a council that's created, or is it structured where you will hire outside entities to do it?
It's a council that will be created within that will look at the actual data and make recommendations to the board in the department.
And the board is the state school board and superintendent.
Correct?
Does he or she or whomever's in the position get an appointment?
Yes.
I've misplaced the bill. Could you, that's what I was up there looking for. Would you tell me?
Yes.
Because I received a call on this and I can't find the copy of the bill.
Yes, he does.
Who all gets the appointment?
The appointments are, the governor gets 5. They get 1 member who is a national expert on school accountability, 2 members who are from the business community, and 2 at large. The chair of the Senate Finance and Taxation and House Ways and Means Committee, chair of Senate Policy, Education Policy, and House Education Policy, and then Secretary of Workforce, President Pro Tem of the Senate, Minority Leader of the Senate, Speaker of the House, Minority Leader of the House, State Superintendent of Education, Alabama Education Association, School Superintendents, Alabama Association of School Boards, Council for Leaders in Alabama Schools, A+ Education Partnership, Alabama Public Charter Schools Association, Business Education Alliance, Alabama STEM Council.
Okay.
And then 1 will be added because while we had the Commission on Higher Education involved in looking at the data, that's what the sub will include as we added the director.
Okay, the question that was asked of me and the calls I received, even with the breakdown of those appointing authorities, will there, outside of them or some of, for instance, someone with AEA, or excuse me, not AEA, but the state school boards, will there be a place for just an everyday, ordinary educator who is actually in the classrooms, in the system, that may be a counselor or a teacher or someone of that caliber that will be on here as you all move about with the construct and curation of this board? Because many times, oftentimes with these type of positions, you're going to typically put someone who's probably in-house. But the question is, if you're going to continue to try to advance to see what we could do better, why is someone that is in the everyday ordinary position not a part of it? And I thought that was a fair question, not to throw you off. Because
Well,
yeah,
I mean, usually that's who AEA appoints, is a teacher from the community.
but again, the way it's written, I'm not talking about AEA. This was the question that was asked of me. I have no problem with the bill, but I thought it was a good question because sometimes, even when someone says from the community, they may not necessarily still be in the classroom. And I think that is what the question was entailing. Somebody who's
I
like
would
actually
encourage
doing the
them to
work.
reach out to
Yeah.
the AEA, because
Well,
that's usually who they pick. That's what I would expect. I also think that the governor has several picks that could include that too.
Okay, and see, that's what I wanted to get to because I mean, and I'm not here again to speak about AEA. This has nothing to do with AEA, and I want to be clear. I'm just talking about whoever the appointing authorities are, that I'm hoping that whomever or whichever appointing authority would appoint someone, because this is the reason, and it is a valid point. We create all of these boards, we create all of these positions, but the people who actually are boots on the ground, who has the experience, who has the know-how, and who is doing it every day is typically not at the table. And then we come back with reports from folks who are really clueless, who are maybe just looking at numbers, but not understanding the principles and the values behind each thing, who's not looking at it from a qualitative standpoint, but more so a quantitative standpoint. And I think if we begin to move in that direction, we could probably make more advancements, not only in this, but also in other areas. So again, I just wanted to ask the question. I don't have a problem with the bill. I think it's a good bill, but I wanted to express that, and I do know someone is listening, and I shared with them that I would do it. And hopefully, whomever the appointing authority will make sure and ensure.
Any of these could appoint teachers.
Could
They
appoint-
usually do. As a matter of fact, most of the task force and the things we've set up have been made almost exclusively by people in the classroom. If you look at our literacy task force and things like that, people that are in the classroom teaching and feet on the ground.
Well, I just want to make sure, again, I was asked to speak on this, and I do try to do my best, but I appreciate it and appreciate your work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sure, thanks, lady. Chair recognizes the gentleman from Etowah, Representative Gidley.
Morning. Lady Yield.
Good morning.
Good. I don't want to say a whole lot about the bill. I know you worked a lot to address a lot of issues, and you've made a lot of concessions, different things,
I did.
and got this current bill that you have now, and that's great. I just wanted to come, Representative College, and say one of my greatest joys in this last 4 years is serving on the Ed Policy Committee, working with you. We haven't always agreed, but good, heavy debate is what brings about good answers. So I appreciate the opportunity to serve. Thank you for all the work you did on this bill,
Thank you.
and thank you.
Sure, thanks, the gentleman. Chair recognizes the lady from Jefferson, Representative Moore.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. But Representative,
Yes.
how many superintendents have you talked to concerning this bill?
I've talked to several. I talked to them for about a month.
Tell
almost
me how
every
many.
day.
How
I
many?
mean, I
Several.
didn't
How
count
many?
the people that came into my office, but
How
that's
many
why we changed
superintendents
and
did
took
you
out
talk to?
almost everything.
Don't tell me several, because I understand historically. When you all say several, it might be one, might not be none at all. And the reason I say that, having served on the school board, I know that what you have in this bill is already in existence. It's already in existence. And even I can give you some history of what has happened to hurt Alabama schools and what in the present future has helped. At one point, every time our students would take their exams, across the street at Ripley, they had a formula, and they would plug that formula in to make it look like all of our black schools across the state was doing poorly. But after COVID, they stopped that. And you see how much better when the real test scores come out across the state is more fair and is equal to all school systems. And you didn't have a formula. I noticed with not only this bill, but one of the other bills that you passed, you're going back to what was done in the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, the early 2000s. And this type of situation already in existence. But I will caution you again, and Mr. Speaker, that when we get these education bills, that all of our school districts know about them. All of our school districts have a role in them, because that's not the truth, Ms. Collins, and you know it.
It is.
You no, it's not. No, it's not. And I know it's your word against mine, but I'm going to stand on the promises of God and tell the truth. I know it did not include all of our superintendents.
I didn't say all, but I.
That's why I asked you how many, because you'll go talk
every
to
day for
Excuse me?
about a month.
Excuse me. You'll go talk to your 1 or 2 school superintendents that you know, but the rest of the state is left out. And then you'll come and make the citizens of Alabama believe that all of them or the majority of them are in agreement, because I believe that if you had talked to the majority of them, they would have told you that this process is already in effect. And in fact, our teachers are so overwhelmed with daily reports. You're talking about accountability. Our teachers have so many reports. And what has made their life even more difficult in the public school system is, since we have created charter schools, we get children every month coming back from charter schools. To give you one example, in my district, a baby that's been in charter school since she's been 4 years old, now in the 2nd grade, they put that baby in public school and she cannot talk. Can't talk. Nobody in charter schools thought to get her evaluated. I've had them to come back into our school district. Not only can't they read, but they got other medical problems that whoever was in the charter school didn't try to get those medical issues taken care of as early and as soon as possible. Every day, I'm getting reports. So I know you haven't talked to the people that you need to talk to. And historically, since 2010, we know that you go to the people that you're most comfortable with. But we have a whole state, over 130-some school districts that need to be involved. Can't talk to 1 or 2, because every school district is unique unto itself. And every school district has its own basic concerns that we as the state of Alabama ought to be working on, and we're not, because you all only talk to 1 or 2 people. And as a result of each time we come up with a bill on something that we already got enforced. Teachers would tell you that. I'm sure in that group up there are some teachers. They'll tell you the level of accountability they are responsible for every day, which includes what you got in this building, this bill. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Question for the body is adoption of the BIR. Clerk will unlock the machine and the members vote. Clerk will lock the machine and record the vote. 96 ayes, 2 nays. HB 604 has passed. BIR is passed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The committee had a sub, and like I mentioned before, To the Accountability Council was added, the Alabama Commission on Higher Education has an appointment. The Alabama Public Charter School Association has one. The Business Education Alliance has one, and the STEM Council, Alabama STEM.
Now, you heard the lady's explanation of the substitute. Clerk will unlock the machine. The members will vote. Clerk will lock the machine and record the vote. 97 ayes, 1 nay. Substitute has been adopted. Chairwoman Collins.
I'd ask for final passage,
That's
please.
question final pass of HB 604. Clerk will unlock the machine. The members will vote. Clerk will lock the machines. Record the votes. 93 ayes, 1 nay. HB 604 as substituted has passed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, body.
Thank the lady. Clerk, call next bill.
On page 23 of the calendar, Senate Bill number 174 by Senator Albritton relating to natural resources.
Representative Paramore, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the recognition. Members of the body, this bill handles a few things, basically with the Oil and Gas Board, and it accomplished two major goals: establishing a framework for the state of Alabama to regulate and oversee the exploration of alternative energy issues for abandoned oil and gas wells, and clarifying the state of Alabama's ability to lease the wells for the purpose of alternative energy use projects. And with that, Mr. Speaker, I ask for the BIR.
You're recognized as the gentleman from Covington, Representative Hammett.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the recognition. How you doing today?
I'm fine, sir. How are you?
I'm good. What is they going to try to do? I mean, is this going to be only on state lands, or is this going to be something that can be done wherever? I mean,
It's my understanding it's state lands, but this is basically going to these abandoned wells and blowing steam to produce an alternative energy source.
using the ground's heat to
Yes.
turn it into steam
Yes.
for electricity, or what are they going to do?
Yes, sir. You are correct.
Is this going to be in the Mobile Bay, or some of those abandoned wells there, or on land, or do you know?
I think it's mainly the wells in Mobile Bay.
Okay. I'm going to come back a little bit with an amendment we
Yes,
talked
sir.
about, and I appreciate you. Thank
Yes,
you.
sir.
Thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Speaker.
Sure, thanks to gentlemen. You're recognized as the lady from Jefferson, Representative Gavan.
So you said that this is relative to abandoned wells.
Yes, ma'am.
How many abandoned wells do we have?
I don't know the exact answer to that. I really don't. But it'll allow these alternative energy uses, companies that can produce this to go into those abandoned wells and uncap them and get this alternative energy out of it.
So alternative usage companies. So there are, do you know how many we have here in the state and who they would be? Can you name any of them?
No, ma'am.
Okay, because I had not heard of that, and it only sparked my interest once the gentleman before me came
Sure.
up. So we don't know how many alternative uses companies there are, but we know they exist here.
We know there's some that are out there that exist, and they want to come in and start producing this energy, alternative energy, for anybody to use. So
Have you or the sponsor spoken with any of those alternative use?
I believe the Senate sponsor has, but I have not. I'll be honest, I have not.
Okay, so you're carrying this on behalf of
Albritton.
Albritton.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, yeah. And okay, help me understand. This is just for my edification. I'm just trying to educate myself on this. So these folks will come in, and however many number of wells that are here in the state, they will come in and extract whatever level of energy or those resources are as a result of whatever company they are, and it is extracted for what purpose?
What they're basically doing is geothermal energy, and what it is the Earth's natural heat to generate electricity and provide heating. Typically, geothermal energy is derived using deep wells with high bottom hole temperatures. These wells are excellent in the type of energy generation. Existing platforms will be utilized for geothermal electrical power generation.
Okay, now I'm just gonna read.
I'm not
up
an
on-
expert on that, but that's
Listen, I was one who tried to figure out and understand Einstein's theory of relativity. I was very inquisitive like that. So I'm going to try to sit down in my off time and figure this one out, because when we start dealing with a lot of these issues, dealing with energy and all of these resources and natural resources, we need to be very, very careful. And especially, and I know some don't believe in climate change. I know the farmers folks over the years has had concerns about energy, solar energy, and all of these things, or what have you, and some others. And so it's just trying to get some knowledge. But so you say this will take place further south?
yes.
So we don't have these wells further north, just
No.
only further south.
Yes.
And I think that's the thing that I was trying to get some clarity on. Okay, so just for the southern portion of the state of Alabama.
I believe that is correct. Yes, ma'am.
And my only other question is, how do we determine, are you all picking these companies, or are these just the companies that will approach the state or something like that?
I believe it's companies that approach the state, and that what it does is it sets up a framework within the Oil and Gas Board for those companies to go there and find out what they can and
Is
can't
there
do.
an oversight for this?
Yes,
And
the
who-
Oil and Gas and Natural Conservation and Natural Resources will have oversight.
And is there a selected number, or just those entities?
I don't know if there's a exact selected number that will allow to do it or not do it. They'll just have to meet the parameters that are set up by the board.
Okay, fair enough. I just want, since you were whoever's bringing it, I was like, wait a minute, let me just come and get some clarity on this. Okay, I just want to see what's going on. I guess I'll sit down in my leisure time and understand how these wells work.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Sure, thanks, lady. Chair recognizes the lady from Baldwin, Representative Fiddler.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just, when I heard Mobile Bay, it just kind of piqued my interest here. So tell me about the wells in Mobile Bay, and how many are there? Are they all underwater, or are we going to see when we change these over to, are we going to see something out of the water?
Thank you. It's my understanding it's the wells that are already spent, and they'll drill down and produce the steam to bring an alternative energy source up.
So
So it's the ones that are already
there?
there. Yes,
And they're
it's not creating a new well to do that. It's using wells that are already in existence and are already spent.
Okay, so those wells above the tide line, or do you know?
Yes, as far as I know, I'm not real sure, Jennifer.
Okay. All right. Any other areas beside Mobile Bay? I guess it just opens up to any wells in any area.
Well, I mean, it can, but what I've read in the bill is dealing with those wells in the bay.
In Mobile Bay.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank
Chair thanks the lady. Chair recognizes the gentleman from Clark, Representative Jackson.
Thank you, Speaker. Thanks for the recognition. Geothermal energy, right?
Correct.
And sure it's just in the Bay, not in the Gulf?
Well, I'm making reference to the Gulf. I'm sorry. I probably used the wrong term.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Now, what are the downsides of this?
I don't know if there are any real downsides to it. I mean, I think it's opening up another form for us to get some energy products from.
And that is necessary, needful,
Yes, sir.
but there's always and then there's a reaction.
Correct.
I'm just trying to. Now those wells are already in the Gulf and they already abandoned. You're saying.
They're already spent, and this is a way we can get more energy out
So
of it.
how we do that by pumping what?
Yes,
Water.
it's a process. I think it's called. The water is circulated down through tubing into the well, and the heated water is then recovering up in the tubings and the casings, and it just forces it down, then brings the steam back up. Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Well, we're a little chemist here today, aren't you?
Yeah.
More than a tailor, you can do a little.
Yeah, outside of tailoring, I can talk a little bit about energy, just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
And so the resources of this we don't know how much power it's going to generate, how much energy but it's going to help bring more energy to the state.
It's my understanding. Yes, sir.
Just on the Gulf Coast or all over the state.
I think it's mainly for the Gulf. This is talking about dealing with those wells. I think there's probably some other ways that can be done, but all those rules and regulations will be set up by the Oil and Gas Board.
Thank you.
Sure, thanks, gentlemen. Question for the body is adoption of the BIR. Clerk will unlock the machine and the members vote. Clerk will lock the machine. Recorded vote 98 ayes, 1 nay. The BIR has been adopted.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I do believe we have an amendment by Representative Hammett.
Chair recognizes the gentleman from Covington, Representative Hammett.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for recognition. I do have an amendment. We talked about this, and I think it's a good one. It's just making sure these wells, when they're doing this geothermal energy, have got to be at least 5,000 feet deep, no matter whether they're from the land surface or whether they're in the water or on land. That's just trying to protect the freshwater resources.
Clerk, see the amendment.
Amendment 2, Senate Bill number 174 by Representative Hammett.
Mr. Speaker, this is a friendly amendment.
Yeah, you heard the gentleman's explanation. The sponsor sees it as a friendly amendment. I've got a couple of lights on. Y'all want to speak on the amendment or the bill? Okay. Bill, okay. The question for the body is the adoption of the amendment. Clerk will unlock the machine and the members will vote. Clerk will lock the machine. Recorded vote 101 ayes, 0 nays. The floor amendment has been adopted.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thanks, the gentleman. The chair recognizes the gentleman from Hale, Representative Travis.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. With the gentleman here.
Yes, sir.
Well, the question I wanted to bring out, but I think just reading your bill, it points out that this also involves the opportunity to use coal seams for some other resources. And I think that's one of the things that it gives where Alabama holds a lease that allows that also to be utilized. And I think one of the things, as we talked about, which is very helpful here, some of the things that we have previously did, if, for instance, they have used this as a way to take cold air, cold water, and drop it down in the ground and use the energy and pump it back up to generate heat, for builders, heating and cooling buildings and everything. And that's one. And then the problem, and I don't know how they will utilize offshore opportunities and everything, because those areas are, it's a pipeline process and everything. So whether you're gonna move oil and stuff like that, it can be very helpful. As ways we have to convert and have other energy resources out there. You pump, let the water go down, it heats, come back up and pump, circulation, heat circulation, electrical generation circulations, and those type of things. But I think, overall, it's probably gonna be most effective where you're still on land, but the state of Alabama does have a lot of leases that they are over responsible for. I see it is, a good bill is one of those things that we'll continue to use alternate energy source, but it does allow us, to utilize, and even one of the things when you talk about alternate energy sources, and some wells and everything that may have been drilled, that they able to remove, like one of the coal degasification, that's other ways that you can kind of like deal with. So several good things, but it's a good thing. But the good thing is that the State and Oil and Gas Board, which has a tremendous history of regulating those things in the state of Alabama, do a very good job. And so we can have confidence that it'll be well taken care of for the state and everything.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. The chair recognizes the lady from Jefferson, Representative Moore.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Representative,
Yes, ma'am.
my concern is these gas wells and oil wells were capped for some reason. So why were they capped?
Well, I think once they're finished getting the oil reserve out of it, then they cap it off so that, we're not messing with the waters and the natural resources
Right.
and doing those things. And this would allow them to uncap those in order to get these alternative energy sources out and then go back to capping them again when that's done.
Well, how much research have we done to prove that it won't be detrimental to the environment and the citizens that live closest to these capped wells? Because it's just like with when they cap certain strip mines in Jefferson County. When the federal government allowed them to go back in and continue to do strip mining, they had built new neighborhoods around. All those neighborhoods got impact because they didn't know that those mining companies could come in there and do additional strip mining to get just that little bit that was left in there out. So my concern is, do we have any type of documentation of the impact on the environment when they go in to uncap them, to get whatever they need to get out of them, and not only environment, but what would be the impact on those communities, possible impact on those communities that would be closest to them?
Well, I think this is a pretty clean way of doing it because you're using water and you're producing steam. So-
Steam can be an awful thing.
Sure.
I know on the south side a few years ago, when we used a lot of steam to provide heat for anything past First Avenue South going over into the medical center. And with all those caps in the middle of the street where the steam could come up, when they went in to do some work, one of those caps blew off and severely burned the lady whose car was parked over it. So, steam can be just as dangerous as anything else, especially when it's under pressure. So that's why I was wondering if we had done any type of studies to prepare us for what the possibilities might be.
Well, I think the Oil and Gas Board has done a good job of that over the years and will continue to do
But
that.
have they
And
shared that with this body so as we cast our vote, we could, especially the people in the southern part of the state, could rest assured that we're casting and they're casting a vote that would not cause any hurt, harm, or danger if something goes wrong, and could say, this is what we have determined, so we could give you some type of comfort in us uncapping and putting this water in here. The possibility of it causing some problem is minimal or not at all. And I think that's necessary for us, and we don't do that. We just come and listen to what the people who won't whatever say, but we never demand that we give our legislators some information. So as we cast these types of ballots, we know we need everything we could get, especially now. Whatever we could get as far as energy for our citizens is much needed. But at the same time, we want to make sure that it is as safe as possible. And we know sometimes we can't get to the 100% mark, but we want to be as close as possible and assure all of us who speak for the people that we represent, that when we vote for this, we've seen what could possibly happen and how minimal it will. We would see the benefits that it's going to give to the citizens of Alabama. And I think that's just important, rather than not only taking us for granted, but also our constituents for granted because we failed to give them the proper information. Thank you, Representative. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Chair thanks the lady. Chair recognizes the lady from Mobile, Representative Drummond.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Will the gentleman yield?
Yes, ma'am, of course.
As one of those representatives from South Alabama, I want to make sure that I'm clear on what we're doing, because it sounds like we're going to go back and repurpose those wells and for electricity or whatever. And I want you to sort of tell me specifically, because you know we represent constituents. Is this only on state land or is it on any land?
I think it's on state land, but I'm not 100% sure, Ms. Drummond. I've asked the question and trying to get an answer to that. I've already asked. I'm waiting to see if I can get a specific answer. If it's, and it could be all over, but it'll be regulated by the Oil and Gas Board.
Can you tell me what that process would look like? Do you even know what the process will be?
To go in before the Oil and Gas Board?
Yes.
Not 100%. I know they would have to make an application. Then the board would have to review that. They would make sure it fits within the regulations that they've set forth, and then they can grant the license to do so.
Okay, who makes up the board and who appoints to the board? Because let me just say, I'm not against the bill.
And that I don't know.
I'm trying to understand, because as one from South Alabama, this is going to directly affect us, and I'm sure it's going to affect, you know, like Representative Moore said, our constituents. And just sitting back there as a layperson, I kept thinking, you know, there are going to be wires and stuff going everywhere, and we'll be the ones that'll be getting the calls. So I'm trying to just get a better understanding of what we're trying to do.
It's only for state leases on state land.
Okay, so it will not encompass any lands outside of that.
No, ma'am.
And even then, tell me what that will look like. Once it's capped, what would that look like? Not the process of approval, but the process of capping and repurposing. What will that look like?
Well, it's what they call the closed loop system and things, but they go in and uncap the well. They shoot the deep water down and to produce the steam to come back up. And they use that as an alternative energy source.
Well, let me ask you this. Maybe this is the easier question. Are the environmental groups, especially those that are in my neck of the woods, are they in favor of this bill?
I don't know.
Okay, I'm going to make a phone call.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
Chair recognizes the gentleman from Mobile, Representative Stringer.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Will the gentleman yield?
Yes, sir.
I was going to ask a couple questions. You may not know the answer because I think some of it's already been asking, but I've got a lot of existing closed oil wells that are no longer being used, like in my district, in the citronelle communities and areas. And I was just kind of concerned or worried, is this going to be used for like carbon storage or carbon capture and those type?
I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. But that's a concern for some of the
Sure.
citizens
Yes, sir.
and community up there, and just wanted to bring.
I
that
agree.
concern up.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Question for the body is final passage of SB 174. Clerk will unlock the machine and the members will vote. Clerk will lock the machine, record the votes. 84 ayes, 3 nays. SB 174 has passed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank the body.
Thank you, gentlemen. Chair recognizes the gentleman for Lee, Chairman Blackshear.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I ask for a leave of the House from members of the Financial Services Committee meeting to meet in room 617 at 10:45 to address SB 375.
All in favor say aye. Mission granted.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Clerk, call next bill.
On page 61 of the calendar, Senate Bill number 279 by Senator Chambliss, relating to the General Contractor Licensing Board.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. SB 279 is a bill that amends the existing licensure, general contracting licensure code, which authorizes the licensure board to exempt certain services from the general contractor scope of work. These are things that have not been included in the exemption in previous years and have been brought to the attention by various school systems and other entities, exempting things like pressure washing and some of the minor services relating to electricity and floor waxing and painting. And this will certainly help our school systems, along with an agreement with the general contractors, to make their lives easier. With that, I ask for the BIR. As for the BIR.
Chair recognizes the lady from Madison, Resident Hall.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. With the gentleman yield.
Yes, ma'am.
So you mentioned several things. The power washing, that made sense to me. But then you mentioned something about electricity. So that seemed kind of...
Yes, ma'am. So in the bill, what we've learned from the licensure board is that because certain things are not addressed, some of our school systems have been, in their auditing process, have been asked, why have you not gone through a general contractor for certain services, like
Okay,
pressure
go
washing?
back, go back. So when you talk about school, you're talking about school systems having contractors to do work in their system.
Yes, ma'am.
And then we've had an audit to come in and they've been dinged on certain things that they didn't do.
Right. In my local school system, they've been dinged for not going through a general contractor for pressure washing. But then when you go to the licensure board for pressure washing, they don't govern pressure washing.
Right.
So there was a challenge there. And in the process of that, we learned that there are some simple things that our school systems are looking to do, changing out lights, for example. That's something that they should be able to just hire someone to do, not a general contractor. Now, if they're putting up stadium lights at a football stadium or another, those should go through a general contractor. There's a lot that goes into that. But some of the simple things, so in the bill, we have regular maintenance, repair, or removal of the following as determined by the board on
Which
page
page
80.
are you?
So on line 84, page 3, we state that these regular maintenance, repair, or removal of the following as determined by the board, and then we go through a list of a handful of things, including lighting, painting, waxing, those types of things. And we're going to, and the licensure board has been a part of this process, they will then determine what would be eligible for or necessary to use a general contractor, and what would be considered routine maintenance that our school systems could just go out and hire somebody to wax the floors in the schools.
Now, you're making good sense, a common sense approach. I had a friend complaining about, he works at one of our institutions, that the lights had been off in a certain room, and the only way that they could get those lights back on or changed, the contractor had to come to do that. And my thoughts were, why couldn't the custodian do it, or why couldn't? So this is, you're going to help that situation, it appears.
Absolutely. And in communication with the licensure board, they're actually very happy about this too, because when they get questions about it, there is no clarification in the existing code, so we're providing that for them to make it simpler on both sides.
This is probably one of the best make sense bills we've done. Seriously. And
Well,
I'm
thank
just saying
you.
because I've just recently heard these complaints, and I thought, well, that makes no sense that somebody that's under a contract would have to come to make sure your lights or your floor has been vacuumed or swept. So I appreciate it. Thank
All
you.
right, thank you.
Chair recognizes the lady from Jefferson, Representative Moore.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Representative, I'm appreciative of Representative Hall coming and asking you the questions that she did, because I know in our system, this is what we're trying to get more to, where our custodians and the people that we have on staff, the locksmiths and all of them can do more work, because I know in the past, as a school board member, she's right. A light could go out and that light could stay out 6 months, because what they wait to do is to have enough lights out to get a contractor to come in when the custodian or some of our other staff could have easily changed that light. And what I know we're trying to do in Birmingham is to even cross-train some of those things that the custodians could do easily without having to get an outside contractor to go through. So I appreciate this effort to make things better for our school district to be able to take care of many more problems that they should be able to take care of.
And in many instances, if we hired a general contractor, they would just sub it out to someone
That's
local
what they do.
anyway. So.
That's what. Then it takes another 6 months
And more money.
for that sub to show up to change out a light. So I think this is a good step forward. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Chair thanks the lady. Question for the body is the adoption of the BIR. Clerk unlock the machine and the members will vote. Clerk will lock the machine, record the vote. 96 ayes, 1 nay. The BIR is adopted. Representative Stubbs.
With that, sir, I ask for final passage.
That is questions final passage of SB 279. Clerk will unlock the machine and the members will vote. Clerk will lock the machine, record the vote. 100 ayes, 0 nays. SB 279 has passed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, body.
Thank the gentleman. Clerk, call next bill.
On page 69 of the calendar, House Bill number 579 with substitute by Representative Shaver relating to taxation.
Representative Shaver, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, HB 579 concerns Tigers for Tomorrow, which is an animal preserve in the southern part of DeKalb County in my district. And they are not a zoo, they are a refuge. They have like 140 acres. They have an RV park where people can camp, RVs, glamping. But they have about 35 acres of animal habitat where they house lions, tigers, bears, all kinds of rescued animals. And so they have asked for a tax exemption to support their facility there, and it's a very educational place to visit. And if you've never heard of it, never been there, I invite you to go because it's very interesting, and you get to see the animals in their natural habitat, and you get actually very close to them. Of course, there's fences and protective barriers, but you get to see the animals up close and personal and as close to their habitat as they can get. It's really a cool place. So with that, Mr. Speaker, I ask for the BIR.
That is questions, the adoption of the BIR. Clerk will unlock the machine and the members will vote. Clerk will lock the machine, record the vote. 101 ayes, 0 nays. The BIR has been adopted. Representative Shaver.
Mr. Speaker, there is a committee sub that
Okay.
just limits it to the state sales and use taxes and to allow county and municipalities to adopt companion bills if they choose to do so.
All right, thank you. You heard the lady's explanation of the sub. Clerk will unlock the machine and the members vote. Clerk will lock the machine, record the vote. 101 ayes, 0 nays. Substitute has been adopted. Representative Shaver.
Mr. Speaker, I move for final passage.
That is questions final passage of HB 579. Clerk will unlock the machine and the members will vote. Clerk will lock the machine, record the vote. 101 ayes, 0 nays. HB 579 is substituted, has passed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members, and I hope you'll come up to DeKalb County and check out Tigers for Tomorrow.
Thanks the lady. Clerk, call next bill.
On page 51 of the calendar, Senate Bill number 219 by Senator Kitchens relating to insurance.
Representative McCampbell, you're recognized. While he's making his way down here, I'd like to recognize a guest in the gallery, former Senator Jason Raptor. He is from Arkansas, and he is the National Association of Christian Leadership president. He is the guest of Representative Standridge and Representative Mark Gidley. Let's give them a big hand. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, SB 219 is an agency bill, insurance agency bill, and basically what it does is it combines the funds from the service contract revolving fund into the special examination revolving fund, which brings about more efficiency and less audits within the agency. With that, Mr. Speaker, I ask for the BIR.
That is questions adoption of the BIR. Clerk will unlock the machine and the members will vote. Clerk will lock the machine, record the vote. 101 ayes, 0 nays. BR has been adopted. Representative McCampbell.
If there are no further questions, Mr. Speaker, I ask final passage.
That is question final passage of SB 219. Clerk will unlock the machine and the members will vote. Clerk will lock the machine. 101 ayes, 0 nays. SB 219 has passed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members.
Thanks, the gentleman. Clerk, call next bill.
On page 49 of the calendar, Senate Bill number 233 by Senator Bell relating to crimes and offenses.
President Ingram, be recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This is the same bill that we passed. It was, only difference was the Senate sent it down to lessen the offense on attempting to elude on foot. And so it's the same bill as HB 37 that we passed earlier this session.
Here, recognize the lady from Jefferson, Representative Cavan.
This bill, what bill was this one?
So we passed it, which I think it was pretty much unanimous, it was HB 37, attempting to elude.
Okay. So you all made a modification to, what was the modification?
So the Senate version came down, and the only difference was it lessened the crime to a Class A misdemeanor if you attempt to elude on foot. So
Okay.
back to a Class A misdemeanor.
Okay, I think even before it, when it got out, I think it was the penalty. I just wanted to make sure this was the same one that regarding the penalties.
Yes, ma'am. And I've got a sheet if you want to look at it.
Depending on the type of eluding, because I remember this bill, and I thought the penalty that you all had in there was a little steep. So I'm glad that modification was made. Okay, no, I just wanted to make sure.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Speaker, I ask for the BR if there's no further questions.
Here, recognize the gentleman from Mobile, Representative Bracy.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The gentleman yield.
Absolutely, yes, sir.
Okay, when the bill, well, you know, I was in opposition, so we'll just be clear. So when the bill originally passed out, the House bill, what was the penalty at that point?
Class D misdemeanor.
It was a class.
A class,
No,
I
a
think it
class
was a
D
class
felony.
C.
Class
C.
C
Yes.
felony.
Class C.
Okay, and it's changed to a class misdemeanor.
It's
and
a
this
lower,
is for
lower penalty.
lowering the penalty, and this is for fleeing on foot.
Well, no, this bill is actually, it's both. So it's attempted to elude a police officer, mostly for a vehicle, but it does say on foot as well, because of statute.
Okay, so the attempting to elude in vehicle is changed to a class A
No,
misdemeanor?
sir, to only on foot.
Only on foot.
Yeah.
So what's the attempted to elude, as far as being in a vehicle?
is class C.
It's still going to be a class C.
Same thing we passed earlier on HB 37.
Okay, and one of the things that one part of this is the person has to know that it's a police officer, and that
That's
police
current
officer has
statute.
to be attempting to make an arrest.
Right.
So what about like Maxent, Vice, some of these other, where you have these police officers that you don't know.
Right.
They are police officers where, where they're not in uniform, they're not in patrol cars, they're not blue lights.
Maybe
but they
ICE
are-
or something like that.
Well, I wouldn't say ICE because ICE because they looking like military, got all the ICE stuff, but you do have stuff like Maxent where you have these officers that are working maybe like a drug task force or something like that. How would a person know if that's a person? Because you may be running, you may think you're getting robbed by a rival, whatever it is that you're into.
Right.
Because this bill specifically says that you have to know that the person is a police officer, and you have to know that they are attempting to make an arrest. How would a person know that to be the case?
Well, this doesn't change that law at all because it doesn't change the statute. The statute's the same. It just changes the penalty. So I don't know how a police officer knows. That would be in his training. So this doesn't get into that, changing any of that at all.
Okay.
So
well,
this is just the penalty.
Let me ask you this. So attempting to elude, I think a lot of kids do kind of dumb things sometimes. I was a kid. I did a lot of dumb things. Teenager, young adults.
And it puts a lot
where,
of people at danger, when they run,
Sir?
It puts a lot of people at danger when they flee.
Right. And they do, but sometimes, so let's just say that you have these kids that are doing some things at a house party, and the police shows up and they start running. The police shows up. Walk me through that. What's the penalty for the kids that are caught? Or let's say, but they are of age. Let's say they're 17, 18 years old, maybe underage drinking going on. The police shows up, boom, boom, boom. We're here. What's going on? And they flee.
And they take off running? Or
Some
flee
take
on
off. It's going to be a lot going on at that point. Some going to take off running. Some going to jump in the car. Some going to be, they're going to be
Right.
trying to get away.
Well, if they're on foot, it's a Class A. If they take off in a car, it's a Class C.
So regardless so you could get charged with a Class C felony by attempting to elude.
But there is an
Even-
age on there. You see on that sheet, the age on there that if you're a minor and you attempt to elude, or
Right,
if
but
you
I
have
said,
a minor in a car,
I said, let's say, for instance, that they're young adults, 17, 18. So you can get charged with a Class C felony, even though the actual crime that the arrest would have been a small misdemeanor.
So I don't know, if you're attempting to elude, when you get in a wreck and you kill somebody, I mean, do you think that's a crime or not a crime?
I think it is a crime, but I'm always under the impression that things are heightened based on the activity of what happened.
There was a
attempted
17-year-old
to elude, and you got stopped, and nobody got hurt. I don't think that's the exact same crime as if you attempted
not.
to elude
It's
and ran through a red light and hit somebody. Well, I
Yeah.
wasn't privileged to this until now, so that's why I'm asking.
Right.
you know, the questions because and even now I can't read it because we're up here talking about it, and if I sit down, we're gonna vote on it. So I'm just trying to get clarity. I'm just trying to get some clarity because I think it's a gray area where you do have some people that are out if you're doing a prostitution sting or a underage sex trafficking sting and the person runs and get in their car, they attempted to elude. I think that's a whole different kind of crime.
Or if they get pulled over and attempting to get pulled over for speeding and they don't stop, you know, that's a crime as well because they may have warrants and they're taking off and you may have a high-speed chase at 100 miles an hour, just like we had, you know, a while back up in your area. No, it was actually in North Alabama where a 17-year-old boy got killed, innocent bystander, you know. We've had several of those people that get hurt. There was one that came by my business, what stimulated this, but it was on the governor's priority, this bill was, I think because of that 17-year-old that got killed. Had 3 police cars that were involved. They ran over 120 miles an hour, going down the wrong way, down the interstate, down 231. And there was a total of 9 accidents in that attempting to elude. And they ended up hitting an 18-wheeler head on, and both of them were hurt. You know, it's dangerous. You put a lot of people at danger, and there's got to be consequences, and that's what this bill is.
And I agree
it's
with
a
the
lighter
consequences.
consequence than what I wanted to be. This was a
Yeah,
compromise.
I agree that it's consequences. I guess it's just, I guess to me, I just feel like we should be taking a little bit deeper dive.
Making
to
it a
know
harder
why,
crime?
because sometimes people run and they're not guilty of something.
Well,
And we've
you know,
seen that a lot, especially in my community. I see that a lot. People would rather run to avoid a situation than to actually sit and have some level of confrontation or explanation with the police. They would rather avoid the police. And I think the penalties are stiff, even though a person may not have done anything. Like I know people that will run from the police that have not done anything just to avoid any level of confrontation with the police because sometimes police confrontation can be escalated and not de-escalated.
But you know,
and
and
it
it's
could
good-
lead to certain things. Like I'm just hoping that we're not creating a situation where people that are actually not committing serious crimes end up being charged with felonies.
But you know how this is. You know, this gives a guide where if it's a bad case, the judge can take the maximum. If the judge wants to throw it out and have a lesser, he can do a lesser. You know how it is. It goes to a filtering process. And thank God we get to go through judges to make that decision. He's the judge, you know. And so this is just a case, you know, changing the bar so that they can make a worst case scenario instead of being a small misdemeanor, you know, and throwing it out. Because there's got to be consequences on a second offense, third offense, and so on, you know. This is a less offense on the first time. Second time, you would agree that
Then it
there
goes.
is a problem. Yes, sir.
Right.
You can see on that sheet right there that it escalates on the second and third.
And I do agree, and that's why I was talking about as far as like the starting to escalate. Because if you start to become a repeat offender, then of course, you know, the penalties need to be harsher.
That's right.
I just know that kids do dumb things a lot of times, and I know just personally in my community, a lot of times kids will rather run than explain themselves to the police or even explain to their parents because some kids are more scared of their mother than they are the police.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
But I know definitely if we could avoid having a conversation with the police, we not gonna do it because sometimes things can be escalated far beyond what it really is. It could be made a bigger deal. I have my own situation with this. Even this week, I've had a situation with an officer this week that something was escalated and it really just didn't have to go there.
Right.
And so I'm more in a de-escalation. Like, how can we de-escalate some of these situations? But thank you, and I'm gonna try to read over this. But I'm
Well,
gonna give you a
that's
sheet
my
back.
only copy. I'll bring
I'm
it
gonna
to you
give
in
it
just a
back.
minute. Thank you.
Chair recognizes the gentleman from Etowah, Representative Gidley. While he's making his way down here, I'd like to recognize some guests in the gallery. The City of Fairhope, Junior Council of Fairhope, Mayor Sherry Sullivan, They're the guest of Representative Fiddler, Simpson, Givens, Holt, Jones, Stringer, and Easterbrook. Let's give her a big hand, Mayor. Thank you for being with us. Also, we have Jade Winston, Junior University of North Alabama and Miss University of North Alabama 2026. She is a guest of Representative Pascal, Kill, and Underwood. Thank you for being with us as well. She recognizes the lady from Montgomery, Representative Morris.
Hey, brother.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. With a gentleman yield.
Absolutely, for you.
Okay, I appreciate that. So I just have a couple questions. When page 1, line 20, it says, "It shall be unlawful for a person to intentionally flee by any means from anyone the person knows to be a law enforcement officer." So what does by any means? Because I see where you got vehicle, but are we talking about if the police stop someone and they take off running?
Right? Exactly.
So if they run, they're gonna get a Class C
Well,
felony?
no, so if they're if they're running, it's just a Class A. I'm gonna need the sheet bags. That was what they changed in the Senate. I think I don't remember if it was unanimous when we passed that down here on HB 37, but they changed it up here to lessen it up a little bit. If you attempt to loot on foot, it's just a Class A instead of a Class C.
So, okay, so if they running on foot,
It's a Class
it's
A
a Class A.
on the first offense.
But if you running on foot, the second offense is 5 years or 90 days?
That's up to, the judge can throw it out or the judge can lessen it. That's just the worst case scenario.
So, but
that's the worst case.
Is this like mandatory sentencing
No.
or?
The judge has discretion.
But the bill doesn't say that the judge has a
The
discretion.
judge always today has discretion. But the judge, a lot of times on a worst case, can't give them a higher sentence if there's a case like that. If they run and it's several times and every time they go to pick them up, they're on parole and they take off running, or if they, are going down a high-speed chase and they're running in a car and had several wrecks like I was talking about before. If it's a worst-case scenario, they can give them the maximum. If it's a one-time offense or something like that, and it's not a big deal, then the judge can have the discretion to not do it.
So this is the problem that we have with police bills like this, right? So we come and we say we're gonna, bag the blue because this is a law enforcement bill, right? Then we do open carry, which is law enforcement bill. I'm trying to make sure I stay within the parameters of talking about law enforcement, but they ask for a tool when stopping an individual, which is law enforcement, and we said no, we're gonna just let it be how it is that you can open carry. But then we come every time with these bills that would start with a misdemeanor, even if they are on a foot chase, and to go up to now, you're gonna end up having to go to your second offense, and then you're gonna end up with a felony. And
We hope on the first time you learn your lesson. I mean,
now
you
you're
don't
not going to
your
learn your lesson. It just depends on what's actually taking place. Because if we go down the list of young people who are being killed by the police, you're going to look at the high majority is going to look like me, right? So that's you don't have to answer that. That's just me talking. So once it start looking like that, and we start bringing things like this, that's gonna keep it keeps us confined inside of a box that we are gonna go from a misdemeanor all the way to a felony. And now when they run on foot as a felon, now it's prison time. But all I did was run from a police officer who may take their position too far. We
But
see
running
that
on-
a lot of
Running
times.
on foot is less than what it is today. We've lessened it. That's a Class A misdemeanor today. I mean, a B, I think, today. And we've lessened it to an A now in this. So it's less than what it is, what I think on the current status. So the Senate sent it down. We sent it up as a Class C, and then they sent it back as a Class A, just a misdemeanor. So that's all this bill did compared to the other. So
So
this
it's
is
a-
a lessened bill than what we passed already in this
It's
House.
a Class A misdemeanor, and I don't know exactly how the classes for misdemeanor go, C, B, A, right? Which one is the highest and which one is the lowest? I would think that A,
would be
the,
the lessest.
but you're saying A is the lesser.
But you got an attorney right there behind you. You're welcome to. converse.
That's Faulkner. I have to ask somebody else. He got hit by a straight bullet just then. I'm sorry. So I was asking him with Class A, B, and C misdemeanors, which one is the less, A, B, or C? C is the less, and I thought A was the high.
A is
A-
misdemeanor.
A, I'm asking is A, B, or C? A, because he said A is the lesser. A
Well, is
is the highest.
Well, it's a Class A misdemeanor is what the Senate.
But it's for running on
At the
foot.
worst case. At worst case.
At worst case, running on foot is the. Thank you.
As
I
a worst
appreciate
case,
you
yeah.
all. So running on foot. If a officer,
Is a misdemeanor.
it's a misdemeanor, but it's a Class A misdemeanor.
So I guess that would be the less misdemeanor.
No, that's a high
Highest misdemeanor.
misdemeanor. So
I
it
guess
went
the
from a
judge has the
B.
discretion to be able to
It went from
to
a B to
throw the
a
book
A.
at them if they wanted to.
And it's up to 365 days. So what are we going to do about the officers that we actually see that overstep their boundaries when it comes to authority?
Let's hope we got rid of all them that overstep the boundaries. I think we've got some good officers out there.
Yeah, of course. We got some out there that's good.
Yeah.
Of course. We always got good people in everything, right? I'm not saying, I said the police officers who overstep. I didn't say all officers. I said the ones who overstep their authority. You know, some people have an authority complex. When they put the badge and the gun on, it's an authority complex. So when you're talking and when running on foot, and if the officers say you ran, but you didn't run, how do you?
I guess.
That's your
it'd be
word
up
against
to the
his word,
judge.
right?
I guess it'd be up to the judge to just
To make a determination whether you ran from the officer or
We've
not.
got some pretty good judges here in Montgomery, don't you think?
We do, but this is a state bill.
Yeah. And we got judges throughout the state that are good,
And
right?
we're gonna have some good, and we always have. We always get some that's not right, because I can actually go back to right here in Montgomery since you brought it up. We had 1 year, $11 million worth of tickets and fines that was instituted right here in Montgomery on the backs of poor people in
Is that
1
judge-
year.
Is that
So-
judge still here?
And we had a name for a certain judge in our community. Was,
I think Judge Poole was a good judge.
yeah, of course.
We
Of
got some good
course.
judges.
Yeah, we got some. That's why I said we got some that's, in all aspects. But I'm trying to see how we're gonna go from running, eluding on
Well,
foot.
it's against the law now if you run and elude on foot.
I know, but it's gonna go from a Class A to a felony.
Well, it's a misdemeanor,
going-
Class A misdemeanor.
A Class A misdemeanor your first time. And then if you keep coming in if you're in a certain area, you're more than likely you come in contact with the same officers, right?
There's penalties now if you run on foot. I don't remember if it's less because I didn't research this, to be honest with you, because I just knew it was a less of what they brought than what we passed in the House.
Well, you said it was a B, now it's an A. That's higher.
Yeah, maybe a
If you
B
had it
felony,
at a
maybe in a
C.
felony instead of a misdemeanor. I don't know. But anyway, don't you agree there needs to be consequences if people run from the police, though?
You said what now?
Don't you think it needs to be consequences if you run from the police?
Yeah, it need to be consequences if you run for the police, but I don't need to be locked up in prison or going to jail for 365 days because I took off on foot.
That's totally the worst case scenario.
That's the what. But this bill is making it like a worst case scenario. I took off
Well, that's
running,
the judges
but
to make that
you'll
decision.
never know how that feel.
The lady's time has expired.
Thank
Chair recognizes
you, Becky.
the gentleman from Etowah, President Gidley.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Gentleman yield.
Yeah, absolutely, yes, sir.
Quick question, Representative. What's your purpose for this bill? What are we
Well,
accomplishing?
we've had a
here?
lot of problems with people attempting to elude, and there's
Right.
been a lot of accidents. We've had deaths in the state. We've had a lot of injuries, and the police officers need to be respected. When you attempt to elude or they try to
Right.
pull you over, you need to pull over.
Representative, isn't it true that most real serious accidents, or a lot of them, happen when people are trying to elude the police?
Absolutely.
So we're not protecting the policemen here as much as we're protecting those who
innocent
hopefully we can
bystanders.
restrain from eluding the police and maybe even save some lives.
That's
Isn't
what this
that
bill is
correct?
about saving lives.
Exactly. And these are misdemeanors, so it won't go on their record as a felony. Am I correct?
As far as I know, I'm no judge, but I
Yeah.
take your word.
Yeah, they
for
won't
that.
go on the record as a felony. They're misdemeanors.
Right.
And as you already stated, the judge has the discretion to choose if it's a first offense or second offense. Then normally always a troop judge will base that, okay? So really what you're doing here, Representative, you're actually bringing something here that could protect and save not just the law enforcement, but the actual lives of those that would elude and maybe be in an accident or maybe even be shot or something of that sort.
Exactly.
So you're protecting those by bringing this in here to restrain that, even though the penalties are increasing. And there's one final thing I'll say. There's an easy solution to this. Don't run from the cops.
That's exactly right.
All right. Thank you, Representative.
Thank you. Thank you for your comment.
Here, thanks, gentlemen. The question for the body is the adoption of the BIR. Clerk will unlock the machine and the members will vote. Clerk will lock the machine, record the vote. 85 ayes, 12 nays. The BR has been adopted. Chair recognizes the gentleman from Mobile.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, I move the House stand in recess for the purpose of a joint session and that we reconvene immediately upon conclusion of the joint session.
All those in favor say aye. We are in recess.
Ladies and gentlemen, this joint session is called to order. Representative Bedsole.
Yes, sir, Mr. Governor, I'd like to request suspension of the rules to allow our law enforcement and families to enter the chamber.
All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? The motion passes. Permission granted. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the presentation of our nation's colors by members of Aaliyah's Honor Guard and the Pledge of Allegiance by Representative Philip Pettis.
Attention, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, I want to welcome everyone. You can take a seat, please. I want to welcome everyone to the annual Alabama Legislative Medal of Honor ceremony for law enforcement. Annually, the Alabama Legislature designates a day to pay tribute to our state's law enforcement officers and the truly remarkable job they do serving our communities. When these law enforcement professionals go to work every day, they have no idea what will be before them. Will return home. The career of law enforcement is an inherently dangerous profession, and the state of Alabama stands proudly in support of all those who wear the badge. I'm going to introduce different guests, and the first guest I want to introduce is the Speaker of the House, the Honorable Nathaniel Ledbetter. Speaker Ledbetter.
Thank you, Governor. Let me begin today by saying what an honor it is to have some of our state's law enforcement officers and their families with us. Thank you for what you do to protect and serve us. I'd also like to recognize those that we have that serve as members of the House and the Senate. They're either active or retiring law enforcement. If you would, please stand for us. And finally, I'd like to share a heartfelt thanks to you with dozens of the state troopers, Aaliyah Capitol Police units who protect this building every day so we can handle the people's business in a safe manner. Let's give them a big hand as well. One thing about our state, I'm very, very proud to say that we fully support the men and women and back the blue. Alabama has recognized that the state of Alabama is serious about public safety, and it begins and ends with the police officers, sheriff's deputies, and state troopers. In the last year, we also know that safe communities are bedrock of our state. and it's also the bedrock of overall success for the state of Alabama. And those aren't just hollow words that we say. Our state put action behind those words. Last session, I was proud to work with Governor Ivey on the Safer Alabama initiative. The package of bills included the Back the Blue Protection Act, served other pieces of legislation. I believe it was solidified Alabama as the most pro-life or pro-law enforcement state in America. So much so that other states now are working on replicating those bills. Other bills in the package that didn't get a vote last session was law enforcement dependent scholarship. And I know Pro Tem Gudger is working hard in the Senate to make sure that bill gets passed, and we appreciate you, and you should be commended for that. Today, it's an honor for me and for law enforcement. I'd like to say I'm proud of Lieutenant Robert Hopkins with the Houston County Sheriff's Office to be with us today. Lieutenant, your actions save lives, and we're proud to have you with us today in the House chamber. And to every officer and the family represented here today, know this: Alabama stands with you. We support you. We'll always have your backs. You continue to be a vital part of our state and keeping our community safe. Thank you.
All right, our next speaker is the Senate Pro Tem, the Honorable Garland Gudger.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are gathered in this chamber to recognize and celebrate a special kind of courage, service, and selflessness that is too rarely found and too often taken for granted. The book of Proverbs tells us when justice is done, it brings joy to the righteous, but terror to the evildoers. And the men and women who wear the badge that patrol our streets and enforce our laws bring that biblical fact to life for all of us every day. What kind of person is willing to run toward harm when others are running away from it? What kind of person embraces a job so dangerous that it offers no promise that you will return safely to your home and family when the day's end? What kind of person dedicates themselves to enforcing the law and protecting the order in a society that increasingly attacks and questions them for simply doing the job they were sworn an oath to do? The answer of these questions are simple. Heroes do those such things. In too many major cities and in too many states across the nation, our law enforcement officers are denied adequate support and resources. But here in Alabama, the House and the Senate worked together with Governor Ivey this last year to pass a Back the Blue legislative package that demonstrates we have your back. We support the work you do, and we appreciate your sacrifices and the sacrifices of your families. We pray for your safety, and when the unthinkable occurs, we mourn your loss with you. Today, we are honoring officers who's demonstrated extreme bravery when the provident hand of God placed them in situations that He, in His own eternal wisdom, knew they could handle and sustain. We are blessed by our Creator to have such men and women among us, and we are grateful to recognize you in this joint session. So for all of the officers in and all of our agencies across Alabama, thank you for always seeking justice and for always standing tall in the name of the law. Thank you for what you do, and God bless Alabama.
All right, our next speaker is Alabama's Attorney General, Steve Marshall.
Governor Ainsworth, Speaker Ledbetter, thank you for the invitation to be here today. This is my
favorite day for y'all to gather together and to be able to honor the best of Alabama, the men and women of law enforcement that I have an opportunity to be able to work with. Many of you know my history. Now, almost 30 years as a prosecutor, now almost 9 plus as your Attorney General. And that has given me the unique honor of every day working with the men and women who have pledged to protect and serve our communities. And y'all, it's an honor for which I will never be worthy. Today's honoree is a reflective of what I see and what I know about Alabama's law enforcement. I'll share a story with you that reflects, I think, why today is so special. Had the opportunity to go visit a Birmingham police officer after he was shot in the line of duty. Circumstances were that it was a crime suppression detail. He was responding to a robbery call, and as he arrived at the scene, he was shot multiple times. Went down, his partner was behind him, and despite being shot several occasions when his partner likewise was being shot at by the offender, he got up on his knees and returned fire to make sure that his partner was safe. A few days later, I had a chance to be able to go into his hospital room after speaking to his mom and his dad, to his chief, and learned a little bit about his story. And I went to the bedside and looked at him and said, "Young man, you're a hero." He looked at me and said, "I'm not a hero. I was simply doing my job." Y'all, that's not ordinary. That's extraordinary for those that every day I have an opportunity to be able to work with. Lieutenant Hopkins, you reflect that. I know that your honor here today is not something that caused you to respond to this circumstance, that allowed you to be able to place your life in harm to be able to protect your community. It's what makes you special. It's what makes you one of Alabama's best. And it is our honor to serve with you every day. And I know that if that circumstance were to arise again tomorrow, you do it with bravery, you would do it with courage, and you do it with professionalism. Thank you for being the man that you are.
Thank you, General Marshall. Next is the Secretary of Alabama Law Enforcement Agency, Hal Taylor.
Thank you, Governor Ainsworth, Speaker Ledbetter, Senator Pro Tem Dodger. Thank you so much for continued support. That you support us with everything we need, and I appreciate it. This body does, and I appreciate everything y'all do for Aaliyah. We wouldn't be here and be successful without you, so thank you. Lieutenant Hopkins, thank you. Congratulations, and thank you. What you did was run towards harm as people were running away. That's what you do. That's why you wear the badge and wear the uniform. That's what you do. You're not here for the award today. If anything, you probably wish you weren't here today. With all these pictures and cameras, you'd probably rather be somewhere else. But thank you for what you do every day. Your training kicked in. You've been doing this a long time. And it automatically, those of us that's been in law enforcement, it's a repetitive thing. Repetitive. It's muscle memory. You do it over and over and over. And you wonder why you train and why you do all this over and over for what you did that night, that day at the mall. What did you do? You went straight to the gunshots. There's no question that you saved multiple lives at that scene that night. No doubt. And so thank you for what you did. I'd like to share something with you. So before we come back here, we're standing in the back talking. He tells me, Lieutenant Hopkins says, his wife is a dispatcher. He was working that day. So guess what? She got to hear all this and have no idea if he was okay or not. So then she calls him and says, "Is everything 10-4?" And he goes, "Oh, yeah, I meant to call you." I meant to call you. Sorry. Yes, everything's 10-4. So she was on her end, I'm sure, was pacing as you were doing your job. So thank you so much. Congratulations. And thanks for the job that you do for not only Houston County people, but for the people of the state of Alabama. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Secretary Taylor. You do a great job leading Aaliyah for our state. Next, Chair of the Joint Committee of the Legislative Medal of Honor for Law, Representative Russell Bedsole. You're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Governor, and
Good morning to everyone, and I have the honor of serving as the chairman for the Joint Committee for Legislative Medal of Honor for Law Enforcement. And I am an active member of law enforcement, serving as a commander for the Shelby County Sheriff's Office. And it is a distinct honor to have the privilege to stop what we're doing today for the members of this body and the Senate to come together to honor law enforcement. Before I proceed any further, though, I would like to quickly introduce the rest of the committee. I'll just go down the list of our committee members. Vice Chairman, Representative Philip Pettis, retired Alabama State Trooper. Representative Rex Reynolds, retired Police Chief. Representative Alan Treadaway, retired Assistant Police Chief. Representative Shane Stringer, current serving Chief of Police. Representative Travis Hendricks, current Police Sergeant with Birmingham Police. Senator Lance Bell, former Deputy Sheriff. Senator Will Barfoot, Senator Linda Coleman Madison, Senator Jay Hovey, and Senator Andrew Jones. Would y'all join me in giving your appreciation to the committee members? Also, in addition to the members I named, we have other members of the House and Senate who are former or current law enforcement. I'd like to recognize them quickly. Representative Ron Bolton with Northport Police Department, retired captain. Representative David Standridge, former deputy sheriff. Representative A.J. McCampbell, former police officer. Representative Randy Wood, former deputy sheriff. Representative Jerry Starnes, retired Bureau in Pardons and Parole. And Senator Lance Bell, former deputy sheriff. Will you also give them a quick round of applause? And last bit of recognition before we move forward, and certainly not least, I want to recognize who are some oftentimes the unsung and often unrecognized persons of the law enforcement family. These are people that are often the glue that holds the family together at home while their spouses are out serving the public. And of course, I am specifically speaking about the spouses of our law enforcement officers. And most specifically, the members we have here in this legislative body that are spouses of a current serving law enforcement officer. So at this time, I would like to recognize Representative Peblin Warren, who is the wife of retired Sheriff David Warren. Representative Jenny Shaver, wife of current serving Sheriff Jeff Shaver. Representative Kristen Nelson, who is the wife of also a current serving Sheriff Jeff Nelson. Ladies, thank you for your contribution and sacrifice to serve your community in your role and to proudly support law enforcement. Will y'all please also join me in giving them a round? All right, before we proceed, I'd like to say a special welcome to all the law enforcement that are with us today, and thank you for taking the time to be here. You know, it's a sobering reality that each year we lose members of the law enforcement community when they give their life while in the course of just doing their job. I would like to pause at this time and pay a moment of silence to those we lost in the last year. I'll read those names, and then if you'll join me in a moment of silence. Lieutenant Mark Meadows, Irondale Police Department. Conservation Officer, Enforcement Officer Sean Nixon, Alabama Department of Conservation and Natural Resources. And Corporal David Hathcock, Montgomery Police Department. Thank you. You may be seated. Before we move to the Medal of Honor portion to award that medal to our honoree today, I'd like to announce that members of the law enforcement that will be this year's recipients of a medal that honor we created just last year, but we call it the Legislative Medal of Meritorious Service. These officers are going to be awarded their medal at a later time by members of the legislative body, and they'll have the opportunity to do that. This year, the Legislative Medal of Meritorious Service recipients are Trooper Benjamin Carswell of Alabama Law Enforcement Agency, Senior Trooper Hunter Woodruff, Alabama Law Enforcement Agency, and also Trooper Joshua Wasden, Alabama Law Enforcement Agency. Quick round of applause for those gentlemen. Now, for the introduction of our 2026 Legislative Medal of Honor recipient, this year's recipient, Lieutenant Robert Hopkins of Houston County Sheriff's Office. Mr. Clerk, I will ask that you please read the resolution.
Whereas, with highest respect and most sincere admiration, we commend Houston County Sheriff's Lieutenant Robert Hopkins for earning the Legislative Medal of Honor for law enforcement officers. And whereas Lieutenant Hopkins was nominated for this honor by Houston County Sheriff Donald J. Valenza, he has consistently demonstrated extraordinary courage, professionalism, and dedication to public service. But on October 12th, 2025, he displayed exceptional bravery and selflessness during a critical incident that occurred while he was working in off-duty detail in Dothan, Alabama. And whereas on that afternoon, Lieutenant Hopkins heard gunshots emanating from the mall entrance of Dillard's. As he exited the store, he observed a male who had been shot and was lying in front of the barbershop entrance. Several bystanders informed Lieutenant Hopkins that the gunman had fled into the barbershop. After relaying this information and his location at dispatch, Lieutenant Hopkins pulled the injured man away from the entrance. A United States Army veteran offered assistance, so Lieutenant Hopkins instructed him to retrieve the first aid bag from his patrol car. And whereas shortly after, a Dothan police officer arrived, and Lieutenant Hopkins provided cover for the barbershop entrance while the officer relocated the injured man. As they reached cover, several additional Dothan police officers arrived. Lieutenant Hopkins gathered backup, and the group proceeded to clear the barbershop, ensuring the safety of its occupants. And whereas during the clearance, Lieutenant Hopkins observed a semi-automatic pistol in the bathroom, and one individual was taken into custody and escorted out. After securing the area, law enforcement discovered that the rear emergency exit door was unsecured and stationed officers in that area. Upon Lieutenant Hopkins' return to the injured man, Dothan Fire Department responders had arrived, and the original officer was assessing his injuries. Lieutenant Hopkins retrieved his first aid bag, and as additional law enforcement officers secured the mall, he ensured that Dillard's employees were cleared from the bathrooms and that their statements were obtained. And whereas the actions demonstrated by Lieutenant Hopkins embody the core values of courage, honor, and sacrifice. Despite significant personal risk, he acted decisively to protect the lives and safeties of others, exemplifying the very highest standards of law enforcement service. And whereas beyond this heroic act, Lieutenant Hopkins has maintained an outstanding record of service with the Houston County Sheriff's Office, earning the respect of peers, supervisors, and community members alike. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Legislature of Alabama, both houses thereof concurring, that Houston County Sheriff's Lieutenant Robert Hopkins is duly recognized with the Legislative Medal of Honor for law enforcement officers for his integrity, compassion, and commitment to duty, as these attributes reflect credit not only upon him, but upon the entire law enforcement profession. Be it further resolved that this resolution be entered into the official record as a lasting tribute to Lieutenant Robert Hopkins' exemplary leadership and enduring impact on the residents of Houston County.
Ladies and gentlemen, Lieutenant Robert Hopkins. Quickly, as the medal is being presented here, a few special guests are with us as well. Lieutenant Hopkins' fiance Anna, mother Miss Joan Hopkins. We have Scott and Kimberly Wilson. We have Sheriff Don Valenza, Captain Donovan Herrera, Captain Tony Turner, and Captain David Asbel. Lieutenant Hopkins, at this time, Governor, if it's okay, I'd like to ask the honoree if he would like to have a few remarks.
Just want to say it's an honor to be in the same rank as the previous and future recipients of this award. It does mean a lot, and thank you for that. I also want to say thank you to each and every single one of you for your support to us and the community that we provide for. Y'all do a great job here. Continue the fight. Thank you all for everything that you do and your diligent work here. Thank you.
All right, this concludes the presentation today. We stand adjourned. Thank you.
Hey, let's make sure we try to get everybody. Yep. Hey, how are you doing? Thank you again. I appreciate it.
Can we get the committee members to come down front?
The House will come to order. Chair recognizes the gentleman from Lee, Chairman Lovern. Sorry, Chairman Garrett.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and Chairman Garrett is not from Lee.
Yeah.
Roll Tide.
Roll Tide.
Members, please give me your attention. You should by now have received an important email regarding your community service grants. If you didn't receive this email message, please contact our office, Karen, so she can provide the information to you promptly. Need your attention, please. Please note that this year's deadline will be strictly enforced to ensure that timely processing of all applications. With that, please turn your attention to this very important, and very well-performed informational documentary.
Great news! Grant application packages are ready. Your packages can be retrieved from your assigned clerk, or your assigned clerk can deliver it to you. Included in your package is everything you need to ensure your funds are properly dispersed. Also, an electronic application is attached to this email. Here are a few reminders. Submit all applications and supporting documentation to your assigned clerk. All 2026 grant applications must be completed in their entirety. Applications must be hand-signed. Electronic signatures will not be accepted. And project descriptions for nonprofit entities cannot simply state for general education purposes only. You must provide a detailed explanation of how the funds will be used.
Members, please ensure that your applications are submitted by the deadline so we can process them promptly. Incorrect or late submissions cause significant delays in the approval process for all legislators. Applications not received by the deadline may result in your funds being allocated at the discretion of the Joint Legislative Advisory Committee on Community Service Grants. Seriously. But if you meet the deadline, there'll be no problem. Thank you for your cooperation and for your service.
That's pretty good, Garrett. Didn't know you had that in you. Man of many talents. Chair recognizes Resident Ingram.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Back on the bill, this bill we passed, HB 37, when we passed this was a stiffer penalty, and it passed unanimous in the House, 103 to nothing. It went to the Senate, and they've lessened it, and the Class A misdemeanor is the same as what it is today. So to clear that up, 103 voted for it when it went up, when it was harder penalties. Now it's come back down. It's a less penalty, and the penalty that they changed is what it is today if this bill doesn't pass. So on that, Mr. Speaker, I ask for final passage.
Chair recognizes the gentleman from Clark, Representative Jackson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thanks for the recognition. You know, it's just ironic, a divine calling this morning that we honoring our law enforcement officers, those good law enforcement officers. But we, in the same breath, they're not so good. There's some that maybe shouldn't be there.
I
And
think
they-
that's the same way with us. I think there's some that shouldn't be there too, maybe one day. Maybe there's some in the past that may not have been good legislators, maybe not good teachers in some, any field that we got. There's got bad mechanics,
I'm
got
not
bad
talking about.
anything.
No, I'm not talking about. I voted for the bill. I'm just speaking on how we have bad apples. And the question was why don't run. And I'm going to say this is why we run, because we want to live. And I was taught growing up, you know, you obey the law. then you got some bad people out there that are doing the law, and you want to run from them because you know they're not going to be kind to you. There are some things that happen in our life that we can't explain. And in our neighborhood, it's a different thing because some was taught that law enforcement are bad people. They're community servants, but they don't serve the community. I'm speaking from reality. And I had a different growing up. My parents taught me to obey, to do what's right. But then there are some parents that don't do that. But then there are some kids that I grew up with, didn't follow their instructions. They would go into stores and do things, and I'm looking back now, and I'm glad that my mother wouldn't allow me to hang out with some of those guys, and they're not here today. But to mention what I went through this morning, happening on Monday afternoon in Monroeville, was uncalled for. Those was police officers. Person is non-respondent, you call 911. You don't drag them through the streets. It's being inhumane. That's an animal. You do that too. And it troubles me that we have some people serving that have that attitude about other people. And they're wearing the badge and they're carrying the gun. And they can be the judge, jury, and the executioner. And that's what happened to that young man. He died. And so we're honoring those, and I applaud those that serve, and we appreciate them that protect us. But there are some that shouldn't be. And I'm thankful to the Senate for putting that back to where it is. And I appreciate you because we need a better way of getting things done, and we need better officers that can make that happen. People are gonna be bad. That's just human nature. But we should be trained in a form enough that we don't kill them.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you for your comment.
Chair, thanks, gentlemen. Chair recognizes the lady from Jefferson, Representative Van.
I only rose and had several folks to speak with me about this bill. And, but as I was listening to Representative Racy and Representative Arnold and one other person, I felt compelled just simply because it is a day that we're honoring in our law enforcement, and in our communities, we're sometimes torn because of what actually goes on. And listen, I have the utmost respect for law enforcement. I have several friends I've dated for many years, an officer, and I have some close associates that are in law enforcement. But I think for me, the reason I rose is sometimes when I'm in this chamber is that people only get what they want to get. They only want to see it through their lens, their view, their reality. But there's a real reality out there that exists. Last year, I was called to speak at a school, and it was about a particular bill that the students wanted to actually speak, and it was an assignment, and it was dealing with law enforcement. And in that room, what was so chilling and so telling for me were the kids of color who fear law enforcement, who fear as kids law enforcement. And it was a sharp contrast to where I had come from, because when I was growing up and you go around the room and ask the kids, what do you want to be when you grow up? And it was typically you were going to have that child that would say a fireman or a police officer, even before they got to a doctor or a lawyer. Why is that? Because those were the people growing up that you saw in uniforms and that you knew were protectors. They were the good guys. They were the ones that if I'm in trouble, I could run to and get help. But in that classroom last year, these are young 16 and 15-year-olds who no longer see that because in their communities, they're targeted. In their communities, they feel as if law enforcement officers are the bad cops instead of good cops because they feel as if they are profiled. And I stood and I listened. I didn't shun away from it. I didn't try to whatever. I listened to them and I got what they were saying. So I think what even those who've come before me are trying to say, you know, Justice Jackson mentioned the individuals who were pulled from the car. And all week long I saw where there were incidents where officers stopped. And I always tell people, myself and District Attorney Danny Carr, when we go on the speaking circuits, you can't win at the traffic stop, number one. Live to see another day. Fight it out in court. If an officer comes up, be still. If they approach you, stop. But I also know across this country there have been so many killings or a belief that everybody that the police has killed was bad or that they were doing something wrong when that's not always the case. Come on, Freddie Gray. Come on, Trayvon Martin. Come on, Tamir Rice. Come on, Sandra Bland. So you don't know those names. I know those names because each one of those individuals was killed in the hands or at the hands of law enforcement. And the reason I call those names out and I knew you didn't know them is because sometimes we're not attuned to what is going on in the reality and in the world of others. All black folks, not bad folks. And not even those sometimes that even if they are eluding or what there's a perception of eluding, but sometimes there's a fear because there's a fear of law enforcement in our communities, whether we want to accept it or not. But I never want to pass a bill because someone is saying that it's this and this is going on or somebody's eluding and they should have a Class D felony versus now a Class C misdemeanor or a Class A misdemeanor. But do we ever really stop in this chamber to try to understand the realities of other communities and what other communities and how unintended consequences can come about? Because even with me calling those names to say Tamir Rice or Sandra Bland, Michael Brown, Freddie Gray, see, those names are forever etched in my memory because I saw a movement, George Floyd, and it was year after year after year after year because of a situation of how situations were handled, lack of training, but all because the fact they were law enforcement. In some instances, they were vindicated, and in some, they were not. So I just rose only because of that, because again, when I come into this chamber and I see and I listen and I hear the attaboys and I hear those individuals that come to give you all your props at different times and to validate the bills, I always leave here at the end of each session and I process the words that I hear. I process the prayers that are being prayed at the beginning of every session. And I'm saying to myself, I thank God that I read the word of God and I read and I listen to the word to study to show thyself approved, a workman that can rightly divide the word of truth, to do justice and to show mercy. That we battle against principalities and wickedness in high places. Also that the words of my grandmother, every time I walk in here, I'm listening as we make decisions. And I'm hearing the teachings of those and the Bible, as it says, that we will live at some point in the last days, and those signs, wickedness in high places, wars amongst nations, mothers against daughters. That's scripture. And then even as I look as what I witnessed in this chamber on yesterday, but I just wanted to come because of the words of my colleagues, but nobody ever really is really taking the time to understand why those concerns are there. Instead of always a bill, bring law enforcement together in the inner communities. Bring them together. How many law enforcement officers are actually going to sit down and to talk to Ray Ray and Pookie and May May and Keisha and Nikki? Why is nobody going to talk to those students at that school to see why obedience is better than sacrifice? Why is not one law enforcement officer? So it's not always against law enforcement. My question is, there should be more training. I will give Treadaway, and I may not have always agreed with some of the bills, his riot bills, but I've seen him over the years in the community where he goes into those neighborhoods as a part of his training to walk and to talk and to befriend those people. We need to be bringing bills in this building that we give more money to law enforcement so we can get more beat officers back in these neighborhoods, and they build the relationships, and people are less likely to flee and to be afraid of law enforcement. Yes, we applaud those gentlemen, those that came in here today, but are we really looking and dealing with the issues, the systemic issues that plague us, that why people fear law enforcement? So those are the things when I come down that highway every year, I'm saying I'm hoping that we leave here better for. Instead of what I witnessed yesterday, I was totally wiped out. Because once again, we had a level of hypocrisy in this chamber that it was sickening. And to listen to what they were saying, it's further sickening because we don't do anything about the real realities of what people are going through. And we're trying to put a Band-Aid over these issues for those who may have had a situation once with an eluding situation. We have many more much bigger issues in this country and in this state than what we've exhibited, especially this past quadrennium. Thank you.
Chair recognizes the gentleman from Mobile, Representative Bracy.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. With the gentleman here,
Absolutely.
I don't plan on taking the whole 10 minutes. Okay, so this is not like I'm trying to actively filibuster this bill, but I do have a question. Do you understand why we feel the way that we feel about legislation like this?
You know, I can see
Like,
where you.
and the reason why I asked is because I've had the opportunity to talk with Jim Barber when he was the chief of police in Mobile, and also with Randall Dewitt when he was with the sheriff's office. And of course, Chief Barber is now in the mayor's office, like one of the top administrators, and Randall's on the county commission in Mobile. But one of the things that we tried to do was we talked about looking through the lens of the police car or looking through the lens of the other person's car. It was different conversation than looking through the glasses or the eyelids. And I was trying to put myself in that situation and look through the windshield of that police car and allow them to, we can kind of talk off the record and they can try to look through the lens of my car. And I'm just wondering, do you have any idea why we feel the way that we feel when bills like this come up?
You want me to answer that?
Yeah,
You know,
I do.
I can understand why you feel the way you feel. And this bill came from a minority. This bill came from my Sheriff Cunningham that made National Sheriff of the Year. This was his idea, asked me to bring some legislation to correct this. I think it's really good that we've got more
Okay,
training.
let me go back. Not about who brought the bill, not about if it's because I feel like you mentioned that because it was a black sheriff that
No,
brought.
I'm not.
Well, you said it
It's
was a
my
minority.
sheriff.
Yeah, you said, but you mentioned minority, so that
But you wanted me to
validate.
answer that question, and that's
Right,
what it
no,
was
but
related to.
it was a
by y'all.
personal. But what I'm asking you is a personal question, not to validate, because just because it's a black sheriff doesn't mean that automatically it changed my perception of the legislation. So what I'm asking now, I get where you're going. I'm just asking, do you understand? Because you're carrying the legislation. Do you understand, with me being your colleague,
Right.
do you understand why some of your colleagues feel the way that they feel about legislation like this? Or do you feel that we just against it for whatever reason? Do you truly understand why we feel the way that we feel about these type of bills?
I understand where you're coming from.
Tell me what you understand about it then.
Well, I mean, I feel like that, with not going into depth, I feel like that you, appreciate that more minorities are getting into law enforcement. I think that you feel like that maybe in the past that there may have been, and I don't doubt, I'm not saying yes or no, that there may have been some profiling. And this bill is not about profiling. This bill is about the facts. This bill is something that not only the sheriff had asked me to bring, but other departments have asked me to bring. They're all supportive of it. The governor supports it. This is about being able to have consequences if they elude. This is nothing about nothing in the past, nothing in the review mirror. This is about the windshield. And this, when what you're bringing up is, I understand where you're coming from, but it's not really what I was thinking about when I wrote the bill, to be honest with you. I brought it because there was a need there from law enforcement, and I understand where you're coming from, and it's sensitive, and I don't think this bill has anything to do with that.
And I can see where you could not think that, but it does. But it does. And one of the things that I can so respect from she's not in here right now, but when she said sometimes Representative Van would say something like, I'm not gonna beg you to not do nothing. I'm not gonna beg you. But I think it's my responsibility to let you know why I feel the way that I feel about certain things,
And I'm
because I
sensitive to that.
represent a community.
Right.
And I know a lot of times that, these bills are gonna pass, but sometimes you can't just sit and not say nothing when you know the negative impact that these types of bills can have on particular communities, or when you understand the unintended consequences. So I'm not gonna beg you to not pass your bill, but I do respect the fact that we're not clotured and have an opportunity to say our piece on it. Because this is serious business to me, because what people don't understand is sometimes a police stop in the black community could be a life or death situation, and it's not always like that in other communities. So this is more important. This is a big deal to me. Like, this is something that it keeps me up at night, where other people, it may not keep them up at night. This is the type of legislation where what people didn't understand is we have something called the talk. Do you know what that is?
I do not.
You didn't know it because it doesn't affect your community, but in my community, we have to have something called the talk with our black kids to make sure that they understand the do's and don'ts when it comes to run-ins with law enforcement. We have to have that. That's a part of growing up in the black community, to have what you call the talk. You can walk around, anybody in this building, any black employee, you can walk around no matter what level they are within this establishment, and you can ask them, do they know what the talk is? And every one of them will tell you that they do, because the talk is a conversation that may very well save their son or daughter's life and allow them the opportunity to make it back home to them. As soon as these kids get old enough, you have to have the talk in our community with them, even before they start driving. You know why? Because our black boys are bigger, they're stronger, they have more facial hair, They're starting to get dreadlocks. They're starting to look older than what they actually are. So you have to have the talk even earlier now than we used to because people look at them as some type of threat. And we have to make sure that these boys know how to get back home. It's a survival mechanism that we have to put into our kids to make sure that they know how to get back home. And what ends up happening sometimes when you have to have this survival mechanism placed into your children, sometimes they may flee because they don't know if the survival mechanism will work or not. And that's what I'm saying about understanding where we're coming from. It's not that we don't want people to be accountable. If a person is fleeing from law enforcement and they have an accident and they kill somebody, they need to be held accountable. But it's a lot that goes on before all of that. It's a lot that goes on behind the scenes that our kids need to understand how to get back home. I have an 18-year-old daughter up here in college in Montgomery. I need her to be able to get back home to me every time she leaves me. I worry about my baby every single day because I want her to be able to get back home to me. Now, will I be upset with my baby if she told me that something happened and she fled? I don't know. Because at the end of the day, fleeing or not, or whatever the case is, or having to talk, or whatever the encounter looks like, that hopefully it de-escalates, I want my baby to make it back home to me, no matter what. That's the thing, is for her to make it back home to me. And we have to have those real conversations with our kids. So I'm not trying to ask you to do nothing with your bill, because you're going to do what you do with your bill. But all I'm trying to ask you is, when you bring legislation like this, look at it from all different points. When I first got here, somebody told me that legislation was like a drop of water in a bucket. And when the drop of water hits the bucket, it has ripple effects out. And each piece of legislation that we bring has those ripple effects. And we have to look at how legislation impacts everybody on every ripple of the effect. So from your standpoint, you're looking at it from strictly a law enforcement standpoint. The sheriff want me to bring it. Other agencies want me to bring it. But what about the ripple effect of this type of legislation? And all I'm asking is have some compassion towards other communities and try to have better understanding of what we have to go through, because just like you didn't understand what the talk was, we do understand what the talk is. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak on the legislation.
Sure, thanks, the gentleman. Chair recognizes the lady from Jefferson, Reverend Moore.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Representative, and I'm not going to be long because I've heard my colleagues say the same thing, and especially Representative Bracy hit a lot of points of what happened. I don't think you all are listening to understand that those activities in our neighborhoods are completely different in the year of our Lord 2026. It has not changed. Our young people could be standing on the corner doing absolutely nothing. But if a policeman decides, I want to find out why he's standing on that corner doing nothing. When he stops his car to get out, that young man don't know what's going on, but we know historically what has gone on because it hasn't stopped. So he might take out running. I don't want that child's life to be in danger, or it could be an adult in danger. And I continue to say this. If at some point in time, God would put on y'all heart, or somebody, can y'all talk to us and listen to what we're saying, and then allow us to work with you to modify and make sure that that language wouldn't put our children in unnecessary harm and danger? That's all we're saying. But I continue to say in this body and the posture that it has taken in recent years, no matter what we say on this floor, to try to make our communities safer also, we get no compromise. You don't get any compromise. You're going to go ahead and pass it no matter what we say. But we were elected to be a voice for our constituents, and all our constituents ain't black folks. We got a rainbow of people that we serve, but we got to protect all of them, and we need to make sure that when we put laws in place, that there is some protection for everybody that we represent. And I've listened to my colleagues, and we all are saying the same thing. And I doubt on today that any compromise will take place, because y'all just let us come and you think we talking to hear our head rattle. But we have a genuine concern, especially for our young people. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Chair thanks the lady. Question for the body's final pass of SB 233. Clerk will unlock the machine and the members will vote. Clerk will lock the machine, record the vote. 80 ayes, 15 nays. SB 233 has passed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you,
Thank you,
gentlemen.
buddy.
Clerk, call next bill.
On page 79 of the calendar, Senate Bill number 32, with substitute by Senator Kitchens, relating to solid waste collection fees.
Representative Ross.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. SB 32 would exempt households whose sole source of income is veterans' benefits from paying solid waste collection fees. I move for the BIR.
That's questions. Adoption of BIR. Clerk will unlock the machine and the members will vote. Clerk will lock the machine, record the vote. 100 ayes, 0 nays. The BR has been adopted. Representative Ross.
There is a committee sub.
Here to explain your sub.
The sub, within the sub, it clarified eligibility to make sure that only when households' income is from very specific qualifying sources. It strengthened the verification requirements. It changed language to county, commission, or municipal governments may participate. And it defined veterans' benefits more precisely, and there were some technical changes to align it with existing code consistent with the Social Security exemptions.
You've heard the explanation of sub. Question for the body is adoption of sub. Clerk will unlock the machine and the members will vote. Clerk will lock the machine, record the vote. 99 ayes, 0 nays. The substitute has been adopted. That's tough.
Thank you. I move for final passage.
Question for the body is final passage of SB 32. Clerk will unlock the machine and the members will vote. Clerk will lock the machine, record the vote. 102 ayes, 0 nays. SB 32 has passed. Clerk, call next
Thank
bill.
you.
On page 38 of the calendar, Senate Bill number 197 by Representative Robbins, relating to food trucks.
Representative Robbins.
Thank you, Speaker. This bill is pretty straightforward. What it does, it allows for a one statewide fire inspection and one statewide health inspection. So food trucks don't have to get a fire inspection in every municipality they go to, and the fire marshals are in support, and the health department's in support of this bill. So it just streamlines the process to allow more food truck operators. With that, I move for the BIR.
Question for the body is adoption of the BIR. Clerk will unlock the machine and the members will vote. Clerk will lock the machine, record the vote. 104 ayes, 0 nays. BR has been adopted.
If there's no further questions, I move for final pass.
That's question final passes for 197. Clerk will unlock the machine and the members will vote. Clerk will lock the machine. Record the vote. 103 ayes, 0 nays. SB 197 is passed.
Thank you, Speaker. Thank you,
Thank
body.
you, gentlemen. Clerk, call next bill.
On page 62 of the calendar, Senate Bill number 288 with substitute by Senator Melson relating to agricultural authorities.
President Pettis.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. What this bill does, it allows an ag authority, it was to appoint their, it allows the board of directors to appoint a successor for each director on the board to allow ag authority to purchase goods or services through a national register government cooperative purchasing program.
Request for the body's adoption of the BR. Clerk will unlock the machine and the members will vote. Clerk will lock the machine and record the vote. 99 ayes, 0 nays. BR has been adopted. President Pettis.
Mr. Speaker, I have a committee sub.
Okay, explain your sub, please.
Basically, it's just if one of the board members leaves, the successor can be appointed for the remainder of the director's term.
Okay, you heard the gentleman's explanation of sub. Clerk will unlock the machine and the members will vote. Clerk will lock the machine, record the vote. 100 ayes, 0 nays. Substitute has been adopted.
Ask for final passage.
That is
As
questions
substitute.
final passage of SB 288. Clerk will unlock the machine and the members will vote. Clerk will lock the machine, record the vote. 99 ayes, 1 nay. SB 288 has passed.
Thank you, members. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank the gentleman. If I can have everybody's attention, we are going to adjourn right now, and we talked to the chairman of the rules. We're going to pick this calendar up when we come back in Tuesday, right where we left off, to finish these bills that's on this calendar. He'll add more bills to it on the end of the calendar. I just want everybody to understand, if your bill's on there and you got it coming up, don't worry, we're going to come right back to it as speakers pick. And so we had a good productive week. We had a long week, so we're going to go ahead and let everybody loose and go home. But being mindful of that, Tuesday will probably be a long day. So everybody be prepared for a long day Tuesday. So with that, thank you guys for your work this week. We look forward to picking up. I got one thing I want to do, Joe, before I call on you. I know for all of us, this weekend is a special weekend. And I've asked Philip Rigsby to end this day with prayer, and then I'm going to call on Pringle after that to close us out. Representative?
As we unite our hearts together in prayer, and we're mindful as we leave this place of the upcoming Easter season, Lord, will you pray with us? Gracious Almighty God, as we come to close of this work today, we pause and turn our hearts towards you in this sacred season of Easter. We remember the words of the prophet. He was despised and rejected by men, a man of sorrows, acquainted with grief. He was pierced for our transgressions. He was crucified for our iniquities. Upon him was the chastisement that brought us peace, and with his wounds we are healed. Lord, we confess that it is our sin that placed Christ on the cross. As we reflect on the scenes of Calvary and Luke's gospel, we hear him say, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. Even in his suffering, your Son extended mercy to us. Let that mercy shape us, soften our hearts, guide our decisions, and remind us that justice must always be carried forth with grace. We thank you for the story that did not end in the tomb. For on that day of the first day of the week, the stone was rolled away, and the angel declared, Why do you seek the living among the dead? He is not here. He is risen. Because of the resurrection, we are a people of hope. Because Christ lives, we know that sin does not have the final word, death does not have the final victory, and despair does not define our future. Father, as we leave this chamber and we return to our homes, may the power of the risen Christ go with us. Give us wisdom to lead, humility to serve, and courage to do what is right. May the sacrifice of Christ remind us of the cost of love. May the resurrection remind us of the power of redemption, and let both of those shape how we live, how we govern, and how we care for the people entrusted to us. God, we give you thanks above all things for the sacrifice of your Son Christ. We live in light of the empty tomb with a hope only found in what was accomplished for us at Calvary. Now to the King of the ages, immortal, invisible, the only true God, be honor and glory forever and ever. Amen.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Representative Rigsby. You're going to have to follow that.
Well, this isn't as inspirational, but Mr. Speaker, having agreed to meet at 1 p.m. next Tuesday, I move the House stand in adjournment.
All in favor say aye. Any opposed? We are adjourned.